6 o'clock from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning, I'm Justin Hawkins. There's a new voice in the Music City. The Tennessee Titans officially announced that Taylor Zarzour is the new play-by-play broadcaster for the club. Zarzour has been a play-by-play commentator for SEC Network's Saturday afternoon college football games since joining ESPN in 2015. Zarzour is a host and director for Sirius XM PGA Tour Radio and serves as the radio voice for golf's major championships. This weekend, he's working the Masters. Zarzour will continue his roles with college sports and golf, but his home base is in Nashville with the Titans. And in the NFL, voluntary offseason programs continue today with the Jags and Raiders. Teams with new head coaches get the early start, and the Cowboys and Saints will start next week. And in basketball, the Florida Gators are the 2025 college basketball national champions. They had to rally past Houston 65-63 thanks to a defensive stand in the final seconds, not allowing Houston to get a shot off. The Gators secured their third national title in school history and do it by overcoming as big as a 12-point deficit. This marked Florida's fourth comeback win in their sixth tournament games. Gators head coach Todd Golden, at 39 years old, becomes the youngest head coach to win a title since Jim Valvano in 1983. Despite a rough night shooting for Walter Clayton Jr., 11 points shooting, 3 of 10 from the field and 1 for 7 of 3. The senior point guard takes home the Final Four's Most Outstanding Player award. Clayton averaged 22.3 points in 6 games. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you've got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once for your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW kicking off your Tuesday morning on 104.5 The Zone. NFL Draft, March Madness, Spring Practice, 30 visits, in-house settlements. 615-737-1045 on a jam-packed Tuesday morning. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. Emory Hunt of CBS Sports coming up in an hour and a half. VolQuest saw some price as always. And lots of talk about the final college basketball game of the season. The Florida Gators are national champions. Good morning.
Hey.
Good morning. Surprised I'm functioning this morning.
Man, late nights. Late night to do it to you, man.
Mondays.
Listen. I told you I was at the ballpark last night because I had an 8 o'clock first pitch. So I was watching the entire game at the park. And I ain't gonna lie to y'all, after like 9:45, I'm racing home, okay? Like, I'm safe. I'm not really going crazy out on the streets and stuff like that. But what I will say, Hendersonville streets last night in Indian Lake were very clear, and I made every light, is what I'm saying. And because of that, got to the house, raced to the shower, raced to the bed. Like, I'm not playing around. If y'all ain't ate, listen, it's not on me anymore, okay? If y'all hadn't eaten, it's not on me anymore. I'm in the dash to hit the showers and hit the bed, man, and that's all I did after I got to the crib.
You fall asleep quick?
Kayla, out. Now, I will say this. My routine has been a YouTube video. The blue light gets me. You might want to try it, although it might.
Blue light, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm holding my phone, and within like 5 minutes, I'm out. I'm out every single time.
Does your phone just drop on the bed?
No, because I just need to get to that point where I'm beyond sleepy.
And then you can
and then I'm out.
Side.
It's probably what's happening to me when I go to movies, too, at the theater.
That might be the case.
Sad, Kayla. Sad,
Those are comfy chairs, though, nowadays, if you're going to the right theaters. Though.
Yeah, if you're going to the right ones, 100%. But what a game.
Man, that was a good game.
I got a call. I guess I can say it. And I got a call from Ran yesterday. He was just like, he was like, what you got going on? I was like, chilling.
Say it with your chest.
Yeah. I got a call from Ran. I was like, what are you doing, man? I'm chilling. About to eat. I actually grilled out yesterday.
Nice.
Great time yesterday. It was the only time we're going to be at home, too. Only time we're going to be at home. We got a game Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week. I know. Well, we had it last night, too. No, it's every night.
Yes. Never mind.
Yeah, every night. But it was the only decent time, and I say decent because Miles had a later start last night at 8 o'clock. So I was like, man, we gotta cook something. And Keisha and I both hopped on the grill, man. She made the sides inside of the house and everything, and me and Zeus outside had a good time.
There you go.
So I grilled out.
Weather for that.
Will has been cooking his ass off, by the way, too.
Really?
Yeah.
I did a good little I've gotten to the point where I don't need a recipe anymore, which is a fun place to be.
Ain't it cool?
It's great, honestly. Because the other day I did that thing where I thought something I made was going to stink, and it was really good. It was like
That's
a chicken
always pleasant
piccata, like a
surprise.
homemade sauce, like a Parmesan cream sauce kind of situation, but it wasn't really heavy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You do like half the heavy cream. That way you just coat the pasta in something, and then you just put more cheese on it.
I haven't
Nice.
gotten that advanced. I'm going to be real. I leave that to Keisha. I'm going to be real. Like,
You
I'm
still do grilling.
I would try anything. Like, I'll cook in the kitchen and, like, do something up. But, like, mixing creams and pasta,
I'm no Lucas Panzica, but I know enough to be
we
dangerous.
crushing Lucas.
I do feel.
Oh, yeah. This show all cooks. I mean, I cook 4 days a week.
You do?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Not like that. Okay.
Yesterday,
Oh, yeah. Jack of all trades over
Go
here,
off,
you
Queen.
know?
I was very lazy, but did one productive activity, but it was a big productive activity.
Yeah.
Put together a full patio furniture set
Oh, gosh.
on my own.
Oh,
Not on
my.
my own. I had help, but
How long did that take?
it was about an hour. Wasn't too bad.
That's not too bad.
Like a love seat and 2 chairs and a coffee table. I did have help. Peyton's probably listening. Like, what the heck?
So Peyton helped.
No, yeah, she did. She would like hold it in place, and I would.
There we go.
You know.
Teamwork.
Yeah, it was great.
All the instructions was there? Because I've gotten packages like where like I'm missing like a screw and a bar.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate
No,
that.
yeah, it was good. I have one of those little like screwdriver sets that has like magnet little like different like bits to it, which is great. So it was good. It
Did
was
you
very
do
good.
like the cribs, like growing up? Like when
Did
you
I
had
do the
kids?
boys'
Did you have to
cribs?
do all the cribs? And stuff?
Yeah, both of us. Keisha and I both did on those. Yeah, I
That's
got
like
one
what
for
I always
free.
think about
Yeah,
when it's like
I
parents
did.
putting together stuff. Is like, how do you get this crib together?
No, seriously, that and big wheels. Big wheels, by the way, come in
Big
big
wheels.
boxes, and like you still have to put them together. And sometimes you get a bicycle you have to put together too.
There
so.
are Florida fans all around Middle Tennessee listening to us right now, being like,
Yeah.
"Well, y'all just get to it."
I know. I gotta
What
get
are
back
we
to
doing?
I gotta get back to my.
What's going on?
I know I got sideways right there real quick. But
Delaying
it
the
was,
point.
It was. I got a call from Ran yesterday, and we was talking. He was like, "What you got going on?" So I'm grilling and stuff like that. I was like, "What about you?" Oh, going to pick up some food. You know, watch the eventual national champions in basketball. I was like, "You
Florida guy.
chomp." I was like, "Nobody want to hear that, man." I was like, "But I am rooting for y'all because it's SEC more than anything. Because I know
Makes one of us.
I know. Listen. I choose the devil every once in a while, and it's Florida, Alabama, and Georgia from time
Florida's
to time.
the
Okay, I don't ever choose the devil. Those teams are very devilish
Yeah,
to
thank
me.
you.
Is what I'm saying.
For
Just to
sure.
clear that up to you guys.
Yeah.
Never choose him. Okay.
That's gonna be my words of wisdom at the end of the show.
Never choose the
Never
devil.
choose the devil. And your Twitter finger
Yeah.
and your mic. They're always hot.
But with that being
Unless it's
said,
deviled eggs,
I
you
know
know?
unless it's deviled
Yes.
eggs, which my little nephew don't like deviled eggs.
Some people don't because of texture.
Because it's got the devil in it. It's
Oh,
weird.
that's
Kids
cute.
weird. With the
We eat them on Easter, which makes sense.
That's cute.
I make a bomb deviled egg, by the way.
I don't doubt it.
Just so you know.
I don't
bet.
doubt it.
Wait, isn't
but-
Easter coming up here?
Yes, it is. I can't wait to have an Easter egg hunt. But again, with that being said, shout out to Florida. SEC needed it. Sankey has come out year after year and saying the SEC got to claim that one, and we got it. Now football, we got to get right, y'all. Basketball and baseball talking trash to us. We got to get right.
You know, there was a shot of Greg Sankey right behind
I bet.
the bench, right? And it was towards the end of the game. And I did my little voice that I always do. And Travis and I were watching the game, and I was like, yep, Greg Sankey sitting there going, you better get it done, Florida. You better get it done. We need this SEC champ. Like, he had that look on his face like, we better get it done.
I think he got some savage in him. I
Yeah,
don't know
for
him
sure.
like that, but I definitely think Greg Sankey's got some savage in him, especially when it comes down to pride of the conference, too.
100%.
And specifically this. The reason the SEC needed this is because the two big dogs, as far as like conferences go, have been talking a lot. And then talking that much, you got to back it up. Like having Houston win it, hearing what their coach said about the ACC, essentially, like whatever that Mickey Mouse league that they play in, like
Toy Poodle.
Toy Poodle League.
Toy
like
Poodle, I love
we would have heard that. And it would have been a huge knock. And I know for a fact, like from what I've heard that the BCS, the Big Ten is trying to do with basketball too. Like they're trying to reclaim that back. So the SEC had to get in on that one.
Yep. It was big.
Florida's first national championship since 2007. Their third overall, going back-to-back 06 and 07. Todd Golden, the youngest head coach to win the national championship since Jim Valvano in 1983. They deserve it. Florida was the best team in college basketball over the last 2 months of the season. The only reason why they weren't the number one overall seed was because there were teams with better resumes, honestly, including Houston, who I think was probably the second or third best team in the sport over the last couple of months. But when Walter Clayton Jr. wasn't hitting, it was Will Richard. And when the bigs were getting bullied down low, Todd Golden made adjustments, and he pulled those bigs out in order to create a downhill lane for Walter Clayton Jr. to get easier buckets in the second half, for Will Richard to get downhill. I mean, he allowed his guards to get downhill by scheming up plays in that second half that I thought were really, really smart. So credit to Florida. They deserve it. They're the best team in college basketball. And despite the black eye that I think that program has based on what Todd Golden has done off the court, those players at the very least deserve a national title. And the coach on the court, when he's at work, Todd Golden deserves it as well. The person, I think we could have a different conversation, but the coach deserves it. He led the best program in college basketball this year, no doubt.
And strategically, like the strategy, Will, that you mentioned, like it's fascinating watching the game unfold. Like they couldn't hit the three ball much at all yesterday, other than Will Richard, man. And I know we'll get deeper into it, but I'll say this, like at the end of the day, when it comes down like the sports, and this is what I love about it, like you always go back to the basics, like. It's running the football in football, right? Like it's playing defense, like it's defense in basketball. When they couldn't make a bucket outside, they strategically had Walter Clayton Jr. dump off in the middle of the paint and make layups. Like the mid-range was there. And I got to give it to Houston. Houston was doing the exact same thing. Will, you brought up yesterday, man, L.J. Cryer. His mid-range was good. And I thought really Houston specialized in it too. So, again, for the folks that hate the NBA and what the game has turned into and you can't watch basketball, I'm telling y'all, watch the women's basketball in college and the WNBA and also men's basketball because the skill is there because coaches in men's basketball have to teach skill because at the end of the day, you got to go back to the basics. And I felt like that's what Florida did at the end.
I thought this was one of the better national championships we've seen in a while.
Yep.
And I honestly could have went either way. And I think what's crazy about this game is that for all the, talk that we had about Houston, and honestly why I pivoted towards Houston winning this game yesterday was just because of them being able to hold it together in these big time moments and to have that kind of veteran presence about this team. And then in the moments that they needed to be the best at the end and clamp down and have an opportunity for a last-second shot, they completely kind of wilted. And that's what's so upsetting about that loss is because they didn't even get a final shot off. And that was just like, dang.
Yeah.
Like, that's a devastating way to lose a game.
Didn't get a shot on their final 3 possessions of the game.
Emmanuel Sharp. Got to put a name on it. Sucks for him. Sucks for Houston.
2 turnovers in the last 26 seconds for Emmanuel Sharp.
It was painful to watch.
The play was there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The play was there.
Waiting for the win.
Yeah. It's like it's like they were shaking in their boots you kind of felt it at a time they've never looked that way. They looked that way.
When it got to I think it was like a minute 30.
Yeah.
At a minute 30, you saw Houston stop making shots. Mm-hmm. You saw them somewhat. They folded. They did.
Mm-hmm. In their last 4 possessions, Joseph Tugler turnover with 1:21 left, and L.J. Cryer turnover with 52 seconds left, and Emmanuel Sharp turnover with 26 seconds left, and another Emmanuel Sharp turnover with no seconds left.
Gosh.
Final 4 possessions of the game. Stream it live on 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. We'll get you more thoughts and reaction to last night's college basketball national championship game next. RKW is brewed by Scooter's Coffee on 104.5 The Zone, with locations in White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. You can download the Scooter's Coffee mobile app today to order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. Florida gets the win over Houston last night, a thrilling game that went all the way down to the last second. Guys, what impresses you the most about this Gators team?
About this Gators team, their ability to I was watching last night, and towards the end, I said Florida's doing that thing, that second half, middle of the second half thing where under 12, that's where they start to kick it in. That seeing that process happen for, I think now 3 straight games was impressive. I almost somewhat I did label it last night as I was talking to a couple guys after the game. It was like they treated it like the Muhammad Ali fight. He just rope-a-doped them the entire time. I feel like Florida was up against the ropes the entire time. They took some punches, and they absolutely did. And towards the end, when it was time to wake up the sleeping giant, they started to punch back. So having the ability, Will, in my mind, and I feel like this, the way they smacked us in Gainesville by 30, like if you can get them, you get them. And Walter Clayton Jr. didn't play much in Knoxville. I think he had an ankle issue going on. But watching the team pretty much pull the Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope and eventually uppercut you back, I thought it's a very unique place to be at, because a lot of teams can't be comfortable in those moments right there where you're down. It's the big stage. It's the national championship, and you still find ways to make shots and evolve your offense. Hearing you say that they pull the bigs and adjust it, you got to give it up to Todd Golden in that moment. Like, a lot of coaches wouldn't be comfortable doing that, and a lot of players wouldn't be comfortable doing that. Like, they stepped in it early yesterday, but punched back late, man. I was impressed by that. I don't know if there's many teams that can survive doing that.
Yeah, I mean, and you knew it was probably going to be more of a defensive game just in terms of how Houston plays. And I think, like, by far, they're the best defensive team in college basketball this season. And for Florida to kind of not struggle, because obviously there's other people. Will Richards stepped up in that first half, but to hold Walter Clayton Jr., pretty much to nothing in the first half, doesn't always mean anything, clearly, because he's come back and kind of made it count when the moment is the biggest. And we saw it in that Auburn game too, with that comeback. So you couldn't just rest on your laurels knowing that was going to be the case in the second half. But for Florida to just be down at some point, I think like 12 points, and then second half make those adjustments, obviously tighten up their defense a little bit. I thought they got, Houston out of their comfort zone a little bit. And you saw that at the very end as well. And that's hard to do with a Houston team that has been in these situations before, has always kind of been the team that rallies and can come out as the victor in the end because of that experience and taking on the, identity of Kelvin Sampson and everything. But I thought just overall, Florida's kind of way to do it this year with transfers. Like, that's the other thing. This is hard to do in this day and age, to get everybody on the same page when you're filling a lot of your teams just year in and year out, like filling holes, plugging holes with guys that you got to make sure the chemistry's there. Like, all of it's been there this entire season. And then to be able to finish it off with guys that you were kind of just plugging and, playing at some point.
Yeah.
It's impressive what Todd Golden has done, as much as I don't like him as a person. As a coach, man, it's an impressive feat. And for these guys to stick with it all the way to the end in this game, they're the victors. They're the ones that deserve the championship in the end.
So Isaac Trotter put this out yesterday. College basketball writer on Twitter says, Florida is the first team in the modern era to win the national championship without a top 100 recruit on the roster.
Wow.
I did not know
there
that.
There was not a 5-star in the game on either side last night. That is still the beauty of college basketball to me, is that the development process and maturation process to become a good basketball player allows you to be a late bloomer and still be an elite player. Because in football, if you're just not a supreme athlete at most positions other than quarterback and kicker, you don't really have much of a chance. And in basketball, you can develop a different shot. You can develop better defense. You can develop all of these things, the mental side of the game that goes along with it, in a way that lets you be like Will Richard, who was Todd Golden's first commitment at Florida 3 years ago. Starts at Belmont, finishes his career there. I mean, Casey Alexander was on the Buck Rising show yesterday and said, it is pretty crazy that a couple of years ago you had Will Richard for Belmont beating Walter Clayton and Iona in a early season tournament. And now those guys are winning a national championship together with Florida.
That's cool. I mean, that's kind of cool. As much as we hate the transfer portal and all that, and I get that.
Well,
my team's a victim of it.
I don't hate it.
I mean, some people do. I mean, not every school is
Your school
unfortunately
gets
like the
pillaged,
Vols.
is what you're saying.
Like, you know, a lot of our schools that are mid-majors or whatever, they're getting pillaged, and that's not the greatest look. However, I do love the storylines that come along with some of it. And I do cheer for some of the, you know, players that kind of get taken away because, you know, that's the day and age we live in, and you have to live with it.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
I did think, I thought Andy Staples made a funny point, though, yesterday. He tweeted at halftime, said the only difference between this game and Houston, Tennessee was Will Richard made a bunch of shots. And I think he's 100% right. Will Richard is the reason why we're talking about a Florida national championship, because while everyone else was cold and everyone else was kind of shook by the defense, by the moment, by all of it, Will Richard kind of steadied the ship a little bit last night. I mean, 14 points in the first half, was on fire from three, made 4 threes in that first half after only scoring 7 points and shooting 1 for 6 against Auburn. That is the sign of a championship team, is having different ways and different guys that can beat you on any given night. And I thought Richard was the MVP of this game for Florida.
I did too. And just to back that up too, like as far as the Vols game, like that, if they could have had 24 points instead of 15 in that first half. This is a different conversation. Mm-hmm. Like, you look at the way that game broke down as it pertains to Houston and Florida last night. It was only a 3-point lead going into it. At one time, Houston did stretch it up to like a 12 and 11 point lead, but they were able to find answers. That's where I felt like the Vols weren't, whether it be size, whether it be the way they played defense. Houston last night, especially Will Richard in that first half, had the ability to keep them in it. And that goes a long way when you talk about guys trying to figure out where they are, because Walter Clayton Jr. had nothing. Elijah Martin, I don't think got a score until got a bucket until 2 minutes in the first half. Like, nobody was able to do anything with Houston because they blitzed them. And again, to be that comfortable, to not panic in that moment, I thought was super unique. But point made on Will Richard. He was good. And his ability, to not be hesitant and how he went about it. The way Houston played Walter Clayton Jr. around the perimeter, man, like they were switching. Like they were offensive linemen passing off TEs. That's a football reference right there.
Thank you.
Right there.
Thank you.
Very nice.
But no, their ability to switch like defenses on Walter Clayton Jr. I thought was super unique. And he had the stoic look on his face. So he wasn't bothered, but he was. You could tell, like, his ability to try to find a shot just wasn't there. And not just that, too. I mean, watching the way Juwan Roberts, too, played against Alex Condon, he couldn't do a thing. He traveled once or twice, if I'm not mistaken, in the first half.
Yeah, that's right.
He got a shot
He
block.
had Condon in a blender
Oh,
in the
my
first half.
gosh, he had him in a blender. Here, Alex Condon's, 6'11"?
And Chinyelu was
he's a
not
big
good
dude.
either.
Yeah,
I mean,
Chinyelu was not great.
they were all over the bigs.
They were all over. And Juwan Roberts, got to give it to him, too. Alex Condon has this hook shot. And legitimately, he's 6'8" as far as Juwan Roberts was, and was able to just block him. And you saw the frustration. What was his stat line at the end of the day?
Which one, Condon?
Alex Condon. He ended with 12.
Yep.
Well, the second half was bigger for him than the first half was, for sure. And he got to the bucket finally. Again, Todd Golden adjusted his offense to make points through the paint, and I think that's where they ended up just keeping it tight, to where against the Vols, there was absolutely nothing they could do in the paint. They had it on lock.
Yeah. I mean, the point made about Florida is you just never feel at any point this season, unless there were blowout games, that they were ever out of games. And it goes to show that depth does matter in the way that when one guy, in terms of this star of the tournament, was Walter Clayton Jr., can't figure out, how to break out of what he was getting, defended against.
Yeah.
And so then Will Richard, this is where the experience comes in of, you've got a guy who's played at different spots. Obviously, he's been in Florida now for a minute, but he's got the kind of what should I say about this? The big time moment, like it wasn't too big for him to know that he had to hold it together somewhat for this team in the first half. Because you're right, if they would have gotten further behind and you wouldn't have had a performance like that in the first half by Will Richard, then maybe you are in a little bit more trouble trying to gain your way back in the second half. But he was there, and then again, Walter Clayton Jr. When he needed to be, like, at least showing up at the end, he did that. I mean, he had 11 points in the second half, knowing that when the time came when he did get the ball, he had to make something of it. So it was just individuals knowing their roles and knowing, how and when we need to step up. I just think they're a really good team. And they all kind of believe in each other and trust each other in situations like that can get kind of crazy like it did yesterday in that first half.
With it was Emmanuel Sharp that ended up having the missed opportunity at the end.
Yes.
Feel bad? Or how as a teammate, if that was one of y'all, I just want to, how would you handle it? Because it was there. Do you tell him pump fake it? Do you tell him screw it, make a dead ball? Because the clock just ran out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just, the way that he couldn't touch the ball again, like that just sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
you got to go for the pump fake. I expect in that situation right there. It was devastating. That's what one of their teammates said too about that. Some of the comments behind it was Sharp was claiming like that's on me, and that's all you can really say in those moments. Like everybody's been in a spot to where you've somewhat lost a game or contributed to it too, but it wasn't just on him on that last shot. 4 turnovers. I guess Emmanuel Sharp had 2 of them in the end.
4 turnovers in the last 4%. 4 turnovers in the last 4 possessions.
Yeah,
Houston. You crumbled.
They did.
They didn't take a shot in the last minute of the game.
And Florida locked it down as much, and they got to the stripe too. That was the other part of it. That Florida, they continued to attack, and I feel like Houston was in bend but don't break mode. Like I said, Florida was on the defense the entire time until the last 12 minutes of that game, and that's when it switched.
This was the best example of college basketball's biggest problem.
What's that?
A different set of rules for the second half and the first half. I really, really, and I don't think it decided the game.
Right.
I do think it helped Florida, but honestly, the refs all go in at halftime and say, all right, hey, guys, we got to get control of this game again. We can't. This is too entertaining. We got guys playing actual basketball. Yeah. We got to turn this into a free throw contest. That way everyone knows who we are, because we are the ones that are most important in this. After Florida's technical foul on the bench, which I also thought was soft, I think the fouls were 11-1 in favor of Houston after that. 11 fouls to just 1 for Florida at that point. Then you had the Chinyelu technical foul. It's funny, David Ubben made the point on Twitter, said you can't really bounce the ball and not catch it. That's always the most unwritten rule in basketball. If you bounce the ball out of frustration but you trap it, you're good. But if you let it go up in the air,
that's a technical.
It's a technical foul.
I actually didn't know that. I found it out last night.
It's kind of an unwritten rule a little bit,
If it goes in the air, it's a wrap.
But again, like, depending on what area of the country you're in, these games are officiated so differently. And then we just have a new set of rules for the championship. Oh, and then it's a new set of rules for the second half of the championship.
It was.
I thought the first half was great. They were letting them play. And then when Florida matched Houston's level of physicality, then there were fouls on both teams for doing things that were allowed for the first 20 minutes. Again, it's not why Florida won. It's not to take anything away from Florida, but I thought as a neutral viewer, it made the game much less entertaining in the second half.
I agree. I think you did see the difference in the calls. And then, the rhythm of the game then changes too. Because the first half was just like, the whole game was incredible. I'll just say that. But the first half, it's like you're not getting all those whistles, right?
Right.
And then you're right. It's almost like the refs have to adjust to what they think they need to do. And then it was like, okay, to the line. And so it just kind of the rhythm of the game too changes. So, yeah, I agree. I think they get a little too involved in how they want to change it.
So you said it was 11-1 in the first half of free throws?
No. It was after the technical foul. There were 11 Houston fouls called before the next one, or the next second one for the Gators.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say the game ended with 21 free throws by Florida and 14 by Houston.
Right.
But again, it goes to what Florida was trying to do in the second half. You mentioned them making the adjustments. Like, they drove more, I feel like, and as far as getting to the rim and cause those fouls in Houston, playing physical, like, you have to adjust in those moments. All in all, great showing by both squads. I thought if you were looking for any other team to be in the national championship, you're robbing this one versus one. And Florida came in as of late. That's as good as you can get right there.
Both teams had stretches where they were the best versions of themselves. And at that point, it just comes down to who can make the plays when it matters most.
Yep.
And Florida was able to, and Houston wasn't.
I just wish they could have gotten that shot off, even if it didn't go in, just to be able to have an opportunity to say, we could have tied or won it.
I'm going to be real. I love the dramatics of what happened. I hate it for Emmanuel Sharp. I absolutely hate that for him. But he's going to have to live with that one for a while. Because there was a lot of Houston fans in that crowd because they expected to win that one, being in the state of Texas too. But I actually enjoyed that a little bit more. Everybody's got to go through something in their playing career. This is just one of those moments where Florida, they made them pop. It was pressure. I felt like finally got to them. For everything that Houston did over the course of that game, they walked it back on themselves.
Of course, the tournament.
Yeah,
really,
the tournament. And legitimately, I didn't expect Houston to be that offensive last night either. But when you couple that with their ability to play defense, get stops, and also Will brought up the physicality in that first half, that was Houston's style. And they just got away from it. And the refs, of course, that whistle, you got to swallow that one, man, especially down.
Roll.
Yeah, you got to let it roll. They were letting it go. And 12 points, I think, was the biggest lead in the game last night. You had a feeling the Florida was going to make a run. You got to let that play out. You can't be quick with the whistle.
Yep.
Not allowing that level of physicality for a second half played in Florida's favor, who could not match that level of physicality. It really did. It 100% did. Now, the calls in the first half were in Houston's favor. So you could argue it pretty much evened out. But I would rather have one or the other for 40 minutes. I don't care which side. I don't care if it's the side that favored Florida or the side that favored Houston. Either don't call those things down low or call them. I just hate that we go in at halftime and we change the rule book. It happens all the time in this sport. All the time. And to me, basketball officials give me more headaches than any other officials in any other sport, because of the inconsistencies. 615-737-1045 is our number. Our national title game reaction continues. I've got a question about Todd Golden for you guys when we come back next.
It's Ramon Foster, Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, man. Hiller's been around since 1990, good folks, and a family-owned and operated, man. Jimmy Hiller was recently named among the most admired CEOs because of the way he truly cares for his team and his clients. And they also take care of every customer on every job every single time. And they simply stand behind their work. Happy you'll be, or the service is free, is their slogan. Listen, if a customer isn't pleased with the work performed, they will make it right. And it's because they always send a professional, experienced, trustworthy technicians to come into your home and they leave it cleaner and better than they found it, man. And they're just good at it. I've used Hiller for numerous things around my house. It's been plumbing. It's been electrical. Listen, whatever you need, they can get it done for you. Heck, they even put up my cameras around my house. These are things that you can call Hiller for if you don't want to get up on your roof and do those types of things. And they also offer true transparency pricing. You already know what that means. Listen to me. If you want to book with Hiller or learn more about them, simply visit happyhiller.com.
RKW is brewed by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone. Make sure you download the Scooters Coffee mobile app today to order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. Titans set to host visits with multiple prospects and some off-field Titans news about the new voice of the Titans that we'll tell you about coming up here in 15 minutes. I've got a question, guys, and you all are allowed to tell me if I'm biased in this. I'm going to allow you to tell me I'm right or wrong in making this statement. Or a question, I should say. I'm not going to make it a statement.
Okay.
Is Todd Golden the most unlikable coach in college basketball?
No, absolutely
Like right
not.
now?
I think he is right now. It's either him or Dan Hurley. I'm willing to argue Dan Hurley as well. I think the way Todd Golden acts during games, I think the off-court troubles that he has had, I think the fact that it's Florida, and this is where I think the way I grew up creeps into the narrative, because Florida is always a villain to me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's just to me. I feel like even at their best in football and basketball, Florida is always a villain. And some teams are like that. Look, I love Tennessee baseball. Tennessee baseball is a villain. Being a villain is not a negative connotation. In fact, a lot of people would say that's probably a positive. But to me, I think college basketball has its next hated coach in Todd Golden. And in an era where a lot of those guys are retiring, in an era where Rick Pitino is at the end of his career, where John Calipari is kind of fading a little bit. I know he was, made a run the Sweet 16, but walk with me here. I think Todd Golden is as unlikable as it gets. I really, really do.
I hadn't viewed him that way, to be completely honest with you. I understand what you're saying about Florida.
And the off-court stuff is a big reason why.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. But I hadn't viewed him like that. I think watching Florida actually kind of pull itself up by its bootstraps, I think covers it up more than him as it pertains to like what kind of season they had. So I didn't really look at him in that sense. I actually thought he was more behind the scene. I never really paid attention to his antics, although I did hear it in Knoxville, though. Sit down, Todd! Like, it was a bunch of that because he's always up and on the court. I think Dan Hurley is probably more of a heel than he is at this point, because he wants you to know that he's a heel. But I understand the Florida side. I will say this too. I think you need a Florida like school in a sense of like being a villain. They are. Every time they win, they're never the Golden Boys. Even with Tebow winning like the national championship, like there was a lot of people just hated the attention that he got. Just for the reason of what they thought he was as a player. They are in that boat often. Even more so, I feel like Alabama is. I get that. I do get it. But I'm putting Dan Hurley or Geno in that conversation way before him.
Dan Hurley has certainly dug himself a hole, I think, especially this year. Unfortunately, they weren't really good enough for Dan Hurley to, be in the biggest spotlight when it matters at this point, right? Like they weren't that good of a team this year. They were fine, but not what they were expected to be, considering what they did the last couple of years. I actually agree with Will here in terms of this could be the most hated coach in the making, because he's only 39 years old and he's been at Florida for 3 years and he's lifting a national championship. And while that is really good for the SEC, because again, Greg Sankey has said this how many times in the past couple of years, we need to raise that championship. And it's just funny that it's Florida to do it. I would have loved to seen any other team besides Florida do it, but here Florida is again. I think what makes Florida a villain in general, guys, it's not just for people here in the South. People see the program and kind of the attachments that have come out of that program, some of the drama, some of the storylines, with football. And there's always something that I think gets attached to Florida. And they kind of do things dirty, it seems like. And I'm not saying Todd Golden did something dirty with the recruiting.
You can call him dirty.
But he kind of rubs me as a dirty kind of guy. Just that smug look on his face sometimes when he's on the sideline. But I'll say this too, guys. On the West Coast, I got a lot of texts from family members that are Gonzaga fans, and they don't like him either because he obviously played at St. Mary's, the Gales. Like, that's a big rival. So, they've got their attachments in other parts of the country, too, that are, like, smug on him as well because they didn't like him as a player when he was at St. Mary's, which is Gonzaga's biggest rival in that conference. So it's funny because it doesn't just sit here if you don't like him. Like, it's kind of in different places, too. So I think he could be that guy because they're probably going to keep winning. And I think the more you win, you know that villains, kind of grow out of winning coaches.
The facts around his off-court stuff is there were multiple people that came forward that he was stalking them, that he was sending inappropriate pictures to college-age girls, and a Title IX complaint was given to the University of Florida before the season started, back in, I believe, September. It was late September. This comes public right before the season starts. The only reason that guy was still coaching is because the university said it didn't happen with university time or property or money. So the fact that it wasn't a Title IX issue is the reason why the university dismissed it and said, well, no, we're not getting involved in this. This didn't happen on our dime. It's the kind of situation where if the guy was bad at coaching, he would have been fired with cause, and it would have been an ability to save you a lot of money. But he continues coaching because he's really good at it. So that is, I think, the black cloud that hangs over Todd Golden in this program. And I'm not afraid to say the quiet part out loud. It has nothing to do with my where I went to school or my, Florida feelings or whatever. This is just what happens in sports. And I think it's the unfortunate side of sports that if you win, we just brush past these things. And if you lose, we're able to save money with them. And that sucks. It really does. But I do believe that he is an outstanding basketball coach. And Todd Golden's ability to evaluate and develop talent, not a single top 100 prospect on the entire team, as a game planner, as an X's and O's coach, I think he is as good as it gets. Yeah. I think he is going to be a nightmare for teams to scheme against and coach against for a very long time. It's got all the makings of a villain in college hoops. I think there is a shady way that we got to the villain part of it, because I don't think that he's, a saint off the court, but neither are a lot of these guys. We have no idea what many of them have, been involved in. Anyway, I think he's a villain, and I think he's going to be a villain for a long time.
It's tolerable until you start losing. That's usually how it goes. Like you said a second, everybody loves a winner. I saw in our chat, and I was going to go there too, but Kim Mulkey's the same way.
Oh, yeah.
I actually think her antics and actions are by far some of the worst on any sporting field. Like, whether it's a football field or basketball court, she is, she's different. Yeah, she's different for sure. And Hurley's gotten like that as of late. I actually thought he was a darling at first.
I liked him at first.
I thought, and I'm not opposed to him because there is a world where these things are necessary. I do think you need villains. I do think you need a Todd Golden. You need a Tony Vitello.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I know there's a lot of people for a very long time didn't like Tim Corbin and what he was doing at Vanderbilt and how they went about it. Heck, there's a portion of the SEC that needs the whistler.
No.
Okay.
That's too far. That is too far. Nobody needs that. That's noise pollution is what that is.
I kid. But what I'm saying is this. I think these things are necessary. And in the world of sports, and I've witnessed this in team meeting rooms and just around it in general, they will tolerate you until they can find your replacement. If you were that good, you're here to stay for a while because that saves your job and make everybody else a crap ton of money. Yep. And those boosters, well, I don't even know if they deal with boosters now, but that NIL is satisfied right now.
ESPN on January 27th had a copy of a letter from the University of Florida sent to a female complainant in the case that determined there was no evidence to indicate Todd Golden committed sexual harassment, quote, within a university program or activity, which was why the school had to dismiss the complaint. Again, those are the facts. That is not my opinion. That is the facts of what happened. And so they move forward. He's allowed to coach, and he wins up a national title.
Look, he's got a little weasel in him. I mean, it just when you and again, we all make little judgments now and then. It's just what it is. That's what we do. We break down all the crazy sports things, right? But he is indeed a heck of a coach at 39 years old.
Oh, incredible.
And doing what he's doing, like it is interesting to see like what the trajectory is of him at that program. And you're right. I might not like him, but the villainous of it does make it fun in college basketball. I mean, look at what Indiana had with Bob Knight for so many years. Do we really think it was right, the antics that Bob Knight did, throwing chairs and beating up some of his players? Like, no. But we still talk about this day because he was a good coach, right?
615-737-1045, our number. The Titans are set to host multiple prospects on NFL draft visits, and the Titans have a new voice. We'll talk about that next. What's up? It's Will Bowling. Do you have a ceiling light fixture that flickers? Do you need an extra outlet or two? Or do you just have wall switches that don't seem to work? Well, these all seem to be simple issues. However, they are rarely do-it-yourself projects. Dealing with electricity requires the expertise of an experienced professional. You got to call the electricians over at Lee Company. Their electrical team can solve any problem you have safely and efficiently. And right now, you can enjoy $30 off your next electrical visit. Just contact Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or go online to leecompany.com to schedule your appointment. Again, enjoy $30 off your next electrical visit by calling the pros over at Lee Company, 615-567-1000. Lee Company has over 80 years of experience, trusted since 1944. They're open 24/7 with 14 community locations in Tennessee, Kentucky, and Alabama with over 1,700 employees. They are ready to help you the moment you give them a call. 615-567-1000. They're online at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company, all you need.
7:01 from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Justin Hawkins. The Tennessee Titans officially announced that Taylor Zarzour will be the team's new play-by-play broadcaster. Zarzour is a play-by-play commentator for SEC Network, as well as a host and director for SiriusXM PGA Tour Radio, and a radio voice for golf major championships. Zarzour will continue his roles with college sports and golf, but his home base is Nashville with the Titans. Speaking of the Titans, per Ian Rappaport, the Titans are hosting 2 players on top 30 visits today. Ohio State offensive lineman Donovan Jackson. He earned 3 first-team All-Big Ten selections, including in 2024. And Notre Dame safety Xavier Watts, who was a 2023 and 2024 first-team All-American. He won the Nagurski Trophy for the nation's top defender in 2023 while tying the FBS lead in interceptions with 7. And in basketball, the Florida Gators are the 2025 college basketball national champions. They had to rally past Houston 65-63, overcoming as big as a 12-point deficit. The Gators secured their 3rd national title in school history. And point guard Walter Clayton Jr. takes home the Final Four's Most Outstanding Player Award. Clayton averaged 22.3 points in 6 games, including back-to-back 30-point games in the Elite 8 and Final Four. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you've got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once for the home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Seven a.m. as RKW continues on this Tuesday morning. A beautiful day in Nashville, Tennessee. Maybe grab the coat, the windbreaker, but still a beautiful day because you woke up and you're living in Nashville, Tennessee. 615-737-1045 is the number with the crew all here. The Titans getting ready to host multiple prospects. Ian Rappaport of NFL Network at NFL.com yesterday saying the Titans are hosting Ohio State lineman Donovan Jackson and Notre Dame safety Xavier Watts on top 30 visits today. In addition to that, another big man they are expected reportedly to meet with. William and Mary tackle Charles Grant visited with the Titans yesterday. He has visits with the Ravens, Eagles, and Bengals coming up. It also had an early visit with the Texans last week. Some big men in town.
Yeah, they're going to continually try to build through, man. What's fascinating, though, is hearing in the intro of Coach Callahan liking guys from big schools, right? And you get to Ohio State with Donovan, but you're also on the other side with Charles Grant from William and Mary. Like, what I've seen from his tape is a guy that he sticks out. He, more than anything, you notice him. He's a big body out there. He's athletic as heck, man, and also he has some violence. Now, what's also going to be of question is exactly what was of question for a guy like Dylan Radins. Will it translate? Mm-hmm. And that's where you see somebody bodying folks at their division, like that's very commendable, and you expect it to be the same too. But I do know this, me coming from small school in Ripley, Tennessee, I wasn't as prepared as some guys that came out of Virginia. There's an adjustment, and I can admit that too. Like my school, we did good, and I kicked a lot of butt in high school. But when you get to the bigger show, like the acknowledgement of, hey, I got to grow up way quicker and advance my game a little bit more. So it's going to be fascinating. He's, played left tackle there. But, of course, when you get in from a school like William and Mary, respectfully, you better try to figure out how to play multiple positions. That's how I view a guy like him. More of a tackle than a guard for sure. I'm not trying to move him inside to be a guard. So,
sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, solid player.
So what's interesting about the Donovan Jackson, and you just mentioned maybe the smaller school guy who, I mean, I don't know exactly where he's predicted to go. This is what's fascinating with top 30 visits too, is like some of these guys you're like, well, I mean, in a Donovan Jackson, he's probably predicted to go somewhere in the 2nd round. So you're not going to get him with your 4th round pick at that point. So are they really, maybe looking to even go a guard in the 2nd round? Because with Donovan Jackson, that's exactly what he is. A 5-star recruit coming out of high school, clearly played at a high level for 3 years at Ohio State, and I think has the tools and intangibles to might even be able to start, Moan. And again, you can break down him a little bit more, but could possibly start as a guard at some point here early on in his first year, if needed be. Yeah. But it is interesting to think that they could possibly go that way in the second round. I mean, we can't count it out if they're bringing him in for a top 30 visit.
Yeah, and it's of course one of those situations. These top 30 visits are mostly just to see if they like you, see if you are what you said you are also. And then, of course, it's also for future references, too. Like, I go back to the Calvin Ridley visit where they got a lot of intel on him and eventually ended up using some of that for some of the reason they signed him, too. So who knows what to say. Like, I'm of the mindset they do need more depth on the offensive line, more just quality, too.
Yeah, quality
but
depth.
You're stuck with the amount of picks that you get. Donovan is slated as what you said, a second-round guy?
Yeah, somewhere in the second.
Second rounder, he's a left guard. I mean, if you brought him in, it would be to be your Zeitler replacement probably in 2026. And move him to the right side. And he also can play left tackle. So that's your swing tackle.
Versatile.
And that is a guy that, I mean, long term, he's moldable. Donovan Jackson, when Josh Simmons got hurt last season for Ohio State, is the one who played left tackle in the college football playoff. And was terrific. Shorter armed guy. A little bit bigger than Peter Skronsky arms, but not much. Donovan Jackson weighing in with 33 and a half inch arms. Okay. So not, fatal.
I was 33, you said, right? My arms?
What did you say? I think you were.
Yeah, I was 33 inch arms.
So again, like maybe doable. It's not Skronsky level, but he's also not one of these pterodactyl armed tackles either. But Linton Zerline's comp for him is Wyatt Teller. 6'4", 315, 3-year starter at Ohio State, naturally a left guard who filled in at left tackle, and someone, again, like, you might be drafted a guy that's going to sit for a year at 35 because you feel like they've got the highest floor or maybe even the highest ceiling, and based on your board, they fit best. So
I think some would prefer that if you could. If this offensive line that the Titans have assembled so far, whenever the center gets back, could have somebody behind that sits for a year and, sprinkle in some burn reps at the end of the game, that's how you really want to build this thing up. Like, I look at Jalen Duncan's situation is a little bit different. I look at his and say, like, you got to be ready for the moment, too. And I'll be quite honest with you guys. Like, Jalen, at times, I felt like all the talent was there. I didn't know if he was there.
Dawn even said that when she would do some of his games that year that he was a senior, or whatever he came out as, a junior. And she even said, like, there was something that, like, I think it was Dawn who said that, like, maybe was missing a little something in terms of that dog or that, tenacity.
Care.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say he doesn't care, but I also, I've seen what it looks like when you do. MPF also. MPF also, like, you want guys, and it sucks like that you have to ask these questions, but you want guys that love football. Do you like playing football? Like I said, in the beginning stages of like me going to Tennessee or in high school, I loved playing the game. Did I know a whole lot about it or watch film like Ted McMillan? You know what I'm saying? Like I grew into those types of things, and that does happen over time. Like it's some guys I mentioned before, like Gerard Mayo. He could recall any situation. He loved it. And that's why he's also was in the coaching world for a little bit. But like some guys are historians of the game, and some guys just truly love it. There's not a lot of guys that love it. I mean, there are, but like you got to question the ones who are just good at it.
And I feel like linemen got to be especially kind of special in that way because
that's true. You do have to kind of love it, but there are some guys that have an immense amount of talent that can get by still, even at that position. Like I've seen some dudes I know, like they drafted after me, that they wanted to come take my spot. They just didn't love the competition as much. And that's a part of the process, too, is when you get that shot, you absolutely got to run with it and, like, really be personal about it. And a lot of guys, for a very long time, Caleb, will just be good.
Yeah, and it didn't work for the Titans at right guard because none of those guys right tackle, excuse me, because none of those guys could be even decent. And that's what was mind-blowing last year. Yeah. I just can't get over.
It happens more than you know.
Yeah.
Congratulations to new Titans voice Taylor Zarzour, officially announced yesterday as the new voice of the Titans, SEC Network broadcaster who has hosted a radio show here in Nashville before 24 years ago. Mentioned with Amy Wells at his interview with the Titans that he had all of his 10 press passes from covering the team in 2001, 24 years ago. Taylor is a great broadcaster. I've always enjoyed listening to him on SEC Network. I got the chance to shadow him as a student at the University of Tennessee for a Tennessee ETSU football game in 2018. And he couldn't have been nicer. He did a great job. He was so kind to all of our crew that was there, him and Matt Stinchcomb. I know Don has spoken very well of him. He was on 3HL. Great pick for the Titans. And I think it was important for them to find someone who had some kind of tie to this community, who understood Titans fans, who understood Middle Tennessee, because that was the thing that I thought Mike Keith did better than anything else, is his care and his appreciation and his association with Middle Tennessee. Mike Keith was Middle Tennessee football, and he still is. He's state of Tennessee football. Taylor having that appreciation, having that bond with the community already makes him a perfect fit. I think he'll do a great job. Looking forward to listening.
Yeah, welcome to the Titans, team and to the landscape of Nashville. Again, he's spent time here before, so he's familiar with it, which is nice, but I'm sure it's changed a little bit too since he's been here.
He acknowledged that yesterday on 3HL.
He was doing also, the interview with them, and he did a little thing, obviously, for social media as well. But exciting, time and anxious to hear like what he'll be like on the broadcast and what other involvement that he'll have with the organization.
Oh, no doubt about it. I say this, he passed the first test as far as just like the way he sounded. He sounded good on yesterday. I've never heard his calls. Guys, how I get, I'm not sure who's on the call. I just listen.
You get so locked in. You're breaking down a lot of things on the football field when you watch games.
I have started paying more attention to it, though, but listen to him yesterday. He got some quirkiness about him, man. You can tell he understands the history of it and also the weight of the job, too.
Yeah.
But he's no amateur. Is what I also want to say.
No.
He's a guy that's been in it, so don't expect this guy to or Taylor Zarza to just be lost at the job. No, he gets it, Titans folks for sure.
I saw Mike Keith too putting out congratulations, and what's great is you can still have the appreciation of everything Mike did, and now he's still in your state. I.e. covering the Vols, but a lot of people, can enjoy maybe now having two great broadcasters in this state doing your professional and your college team.
The thing I will ask of Titans fans is that let Taylor Zarza be Taylor Zarza.
Exactly.
And I think nobody would agree with that more than Mike Keith as well.
Yep.
But big shoes to fill, no doubt. It kind of like following Nick Saban, following Pat Summitt, right? Like the bar is very, very high. But the people involved with Titans Radio will continue to strive for that high of a bar that was set by Larry Stone and Mike, years ago when the team started and they were knocking on doors and saying, hey, do you want to be a Titans Radio affiliate? And that bar will forever be at that same level, even with a new voice. It will sound different, but it will still be the same quality, and I'm looking forward to listening. Excited for Taylor.
Absolutely.
Good for him. Yeah. Coming up, Emory Hunt of CBS Sports will join us. He's got a new draft guide out. He has talked with us for a while now about his opinions about Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. We'll get his thoughts on where the Titans should go beyond just Cam Ward coming up next.
Hey, it's Kayla and Ramon with Window Nation. April, a great time to spruce up the home, especially with Window Nation's Buy 4, Get 4 free sale going on right now. You could pay nothing for 2027, until 2027, I should say, if you're going to buy a full house full of windows, and then you're going to go ahead and get a free entry door. Moan, there's no other better place to do spring cleaning than Window Nation.
Absolutely not, man. People are talking about Window Nation, man, just how good they are. One of their customers, Albert, says, great valve, great product, and great customer service. Highly recommend. It's not us. It's somebody else saying this. As Kayla told you, right now, you get 4 windows free when you buy 4. You could get 0 interest with 0 payments for 2 full years. Again, that's to 2027, all right? Some of the best windows you can get. Save money on the inside of your home by protecting what goes out, man. The sale ends April 30th. Don't overpay for those expensive windows. Schedule today at 866-90 Nation to go to windownation.com. It's Ramon Foss for Two Rivers Ford. Right now, I've got a huge announcement for you guys, man. Just in, Two Rivers Ford is now offering employee pricing for everyone. Yes, employee pricing. That means you pay what they pay on almost every new Ford on the lot. And at Two Rivers Ford, what you see is always what you get. They don't do things like add expensive accessories or tack on service packages to increase the price of the vehicles. No. Two Rivers Ford is upfront and honest every single time, and now they're offering you employee pricing. There's no better time to buy American. There's no better dealership than Two Rivers Ford. They're locally owned and operated for over 40 years and home of the non-commissioned sales team. And now home to employee pricing for everyone. From America for America, Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
RKW brewed by Scooter's Coffee with locations in White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. Continuing the NFL draft breakdown this morning. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. Pleased to be joined by Emory Hunt of CBS Sports. His new draft guide out now. Footballgameplan.com. Excellent breakdown. Great stuff that you need in your life as you get ready for the NFL draft. Emory, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing fine, man. I appreciate y'all bringing me on.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Before we dive into the Cam Ward breakdown for the Titans, some of these prospects that you've been looking at that could be fits here, tell us about the draft guide. I know it just came out. Lots of nuggets, lots of info, and I'm sure a lot of work that has gone into this thing. Where can people find this?
They can find it at footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide. It's the largest draft guide out, 6 years running. This one has over 1,200 individual scouting reports in it. And the reason why I stress individual, because some draft guys will put out their, reports on 200 players and then list about 200 players. Like, no, everyone in this draft guide has a scouting report, which is why it's over 1,210 and 1,200 pages as well. So that's something I'm really proud of. And this year we added over 50 CFL draft prospects. So some of these guys will end up in NFL camps. So why not get a good head start on it by pumping out some of those prospects as well.
I love it. Great stuff. That is,
awesome.
I cannot imagine the amount of hours that go into making that kind of thing, Emory. It feels like, Emory, here in Nashville, that the Titans and Cam Ward are kind of locked in together. And at this point, after they cancel their workout with Shedeur Sanders that was supposed to be tomorrow, what do you like about the fit of Cam Ward's skill set, of his talent, with what Brian Callahan and this offense wants to be?
He plays above the X's and O's, to be completely honest. And when you have a quarterback that's capable of doing that, you're always going to be on the plus side of the play and the plus side of the scoreboard a lot of times. And it's fascinating because I've watched Cam Ward since he was a freshman at Incarnate Word, and I watched him lead that football team to the postseason and compete. And then, go to Washington State and have those guys competitive. And what I liked about his game from Washington State to Miami, and what I saw from the last two stops he was at in Incarnate Word and Washington State, was that he cut down on those, bro, where are you going with the football plays? Like, where you're trying to do a little bit too much. And so he really flatlined that at Miami, which is why we saw less turnovers than what we saw from him at Washington State and also Incarnate Word. And he got better at the end of game situations, or, hey, we need a score. And then, once he had the ball in the hand, Miami was going to go down and score because Cam Ward was leading the way.
Emory Hunt with us this morning of CBS Sports and Football Game Plan, speaking about his scouting breakdown he has for a lot of these guys. And we're talking quarterbacks right now. I kind of want to stay there real quick because the opening page of your breakdown of Football Game Plans, the doc that you sent, man, is you have Shedeur Sanders, number one. Now, I know it's pick your poison, but how do you break down the separation of the two as it pertains to these two guys? Because it is an ongoing conversation on what do each team do. Do the Titans take them? And I think, the Titans are taking Cam Ward at this point. But how did you compare both of these guys?
It's a great question, because when I'm breaking down players or evaluating players in terms of grading for the scouting guide, it's really about how consistent are you hitting your good, right? And if I'm heavily on situational football, third down offense, backed up offense, in the game situations, need to have it situations, red zone offense, Shedeur was always consistently good in that area. There was no situation where you watching a Shedeur Sanders game with us at Jackson State or Colorado and see him fail in those situations. If anything, that's where he thrived the most. And you could almost turn on a Shedeur Sanders game in the fourth quarter, and he's dealing. Like, he is ice cold and is consistently doing what's necessary to put a team in position to win or getting them where they need to be to win the game. I mean, heck, we saw him complete 2 Hail Marys consecutively. The guy dropped the first one, and then he came back, and threw another Hail Mary to a shorter receiver for a touchdown for the game winner against Baylor. So, or to put them in overtime. So when you're seeing him do that consistently, and I think just that's the part where I have 1 point grade higher than Cam Ward.
So a lot of this somewhat breaks down. We're going to speak about the number 1 overall pick right now that the Titans have. Some of this breaks down to the success of these guys with what you surround them with, man. If you're drafting Cam Ward, what does he need around him? Or does he have a strong ability to make everybody around him better? Because, again, I've been around guys that they always are begging for, I need new weapons. I need more weapons. And that plays a part into the success of guys, too. How do you view Cam coming into Nashville with what's going to be necessary for a guy like him?
All Cam needs is dudes to catch football, and so that's the beauty about the draft is that the Titans can get Cam Ward and then spend the rest of the draft getting playmakers. And if you're able to get playmakers, guys that can catch the ball, we know Cam Ward is going to do his thing. With Shedeur, all he needs is just run plays. You know what I'm saying? Like they ran probably 6 run plays a game at Colorado. If you just call run plays, he's going to be way better than he was in college. So with Cam, he's going to need some receivers out there because right now that's an area where Tennessee can definitely improve their roster, some more pass catchers. If that's the case, I think he has the escapability to, mitigate whatever's up front along the offensive line. They have a stable of backs. Defensively, you kind of want them to add some more pieces there as well just to get some key stops. But if you're going to be in shootout Sunday, every Sunday, you got a guy that can definitely, the perfect gunslinger out there in Cam Ward to go toe-to-toe with anybody on the other side.
Emory Hunt joining us this morning here on RKW, football game plan. You can also check him out on CBS HQ. And when it comes to Cam Ward and a weapon that they could possibly get in that second round for him, we've brought up a lot of names on this show, Emory, Emeka Ibuka, Jack Besh, the list goes on and on, right, that could be available at 35. What do you think would be a great, maybe even security blanket for him in that year one out of this receiver class that would be doable in round 2?
I mean, if the NFL is dumb and they allow Luther Burton to fall out the first round, that's the one I draft, number 1. Outside of that, how about you keep the chemistry going, right? You go and get Kyle Williams out of Washington State, who he had great chemistry with. He was out there. So that's another one that you can see. How about Dante Thornton out of Tennessee, a guy that can legit fly? So there's some options. That's why I love doing a draft guide where I go so deep in terms of the amount of prospects, because I'm always going to have an optimistic look of every position, because I think every class is a deep class if you go deep enough. And so there's some options there. Burton, Kyle Williams that he played with at Washington State, Dante Thornton out of Tennessee, and Alec Ayumanor out of Stanford, another one that's a catch and run guy, a big physical wide receiver, kind of gives them something that they don't have currently on the roster, and that way you can kind of help your quarterback ease that transition as a rookie.
Real quick with a couple of those guys in Thornton and Williams, and then I have a question about Shedeur Sanders. Do you think those are gettable, though, anywhere? Because they don't have a third-round pick, Emory, so it's like it's such a hole, right, before going from that second high-round pick to the fourth-round pick. Do you think that any of those guys are gettable early fourth, or they'll probably be gone?
They'll probably be gone, but that's where you have to be a little bit savvy in the draft, because let's say you have a high second-round pick. That's the beauty of having such a high second-round pick. You could move down 3 spots and probably pick up a couple of thirds or fourths, right? For some team that's thirsty for a particular player that high at the top of the second round. So you could move down a couple spots, pick up a fourth-round pick, so now you are cooking with gas right there, because now you have what you need, and you could be able to game the draft that way.
When it comes to Shedeur Sanders, obviously it came out that the Titans and him have agreed not to do the private workout. Also, Travis Hunter in that too. It does kind of show your hand. If you're the Titans, you probably are all in on Cam Ward. With Shedeur Sanders, though, where do you see him falling if he doesn't fall anywhere besides 3? Because I still feel like there's a chance you could perhaps see him going to Cleveland or the Giants. But now there's more talk that he could fall even further. Where would he land? What would be a good landing spot?
Cleveland's depth chart at quarterback is baby on a plane screaming for a QB pick. Like, it's obvious that they need a quarterback. If the Browns can be dumb and let Shedeur Sanders fall past them, the Giants will be right there to scoop up their future franchise quarterback. Like, I've never seen the conversation even in years where folks don't feel like there's a quarterback necessary to go top 5, right? They would force a quarterback to go to a team that desperately needs a quarterback. That's why I find this fascinating that people are ignoring that Browns QB depth chart and saying, yeah, no, they could just bypass. You got to go get this player or that player. Like, bro, okay, cool. You get Travis Hunter. Who's throwing him the ball? Okay, you go and get Abdul Carter. Yeah, they're going to be great on defense. How they scoring points? Like, so it doesn't make sense for him to fall past 2.
Emory Hunt joining us now, CBS Sports. Check out his draft guide at footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide. Emory, we got a report yesterday that Charles Grant from William and Mary is visiting with the Titans. I love the exercise you had at CBSSports.com in a mock draft where teams are only allowed to pick FCS players. I thought that was a really creative way to break this down. When you look at Charles Grant, what is his strength and why do you think the Titans are interested in a prospect like him?
His strength is his strength. That's the thing about his game. Like, he is phenomenal at the point of attack in terms of how strong he is. The functional strength is where it needs to be. He has good footwork, and you can get creative in how you move him around in the run game and open up your passing game, getting out on boots and waggles. When you have an athletic offensive tackle like that, you're able to do so much more on offense. And when you have a quarterback potentially in Cam Ward that loves to escape, it's good to have a guy that can kind of mirror and match his movement with a guy that can move like that. And Grant, well coached by Mike London, one of the best coaches in the in college football, regardless of division. And so I know he has done a good job of cultivating and developing talent at William and Mary. They have another guy that's coming out there too, Barnes, whose dad played. Johnny Barnes played in the NFL for a good bit too. That's a 6'4" safety. But Grant is another one of these William & Mary prospects coming from a Mike London tutelage that can really get out there and go. I think he does a fantastic job on both ends of offense, run blocking and also in pass pro.
Emory, it's been fun watching people learn about how good Omar Norman Lott is, the local prospect from the University of Tennessee, who didn't play a ton of snaps, but was very productive when he was on the field of that Tennessee defensive line. How high is his ceiling, in your opinion, at the NFL level?
All of his issues, I feel like, are coachable in terms of, like, getting off blocks. That's just about a little bit more maybe a little bit technique. But by him being so explosive off the ball, by him being so, doggone good at and converting that speed to power that people like to say, he's going to have a role. He can be disruptive without converting a lot of that into sacks. But disruption is production when you think about it, because if he's moving a quarterback off the spot, if he's, condensing gaps in the run game, making it easier for linebackers to float to the football and make a play, then he's doing his job. And I think because he has the innate skills of the ball get off, the explosiveness, the power, everything else can be coached up, in my opinion.
Emory Hunt with us this morning. Speaking about pre-draft situations, I got a sticky one for you right here too, Emory. I need you to break down to me, if you can, and it's twofold, man. How has James Pierce Jr. and Luther Burden dropped? Why? But what do they also possess that you want them on your team?
All right. I'm gonna say this. I know we're on, I don't want to have this to go wrong all across your frequency modulation, right? So I'm going to try to pick and choose my words wisely.
No, speak freely, Emory. That's what we do here, man. Hey, listen, if you got anything anti-Vols, we can live with that, all right? Just go and bring it, man. Or SEC. Bring it, Emory.
Okay, well, here's the thing. People are going to talk about potential off-the-field issues. And my thing is, if I'm a coach, as long as you're not hurting women or kids or arrested, I don't give a damn. Like, as long as we know what the greatest edge rusher of all time was doing in the 80s, right? I would have been the coach like, hey, if that's what he's doing to be successful, man, let's get him more because we need him out there on Sunday, right? So my thing is, I don't care what's going on. Those two dudes can ball. Pierce can get after the quarterback. Burton can catch the ball and take it a long way. Plus, he has a great sense of timing of when to make the big play. I keep going back to that South Carolina game. Like, man, that's a clutch catch in that moment. And Pierce has tremendous upside, right? He has all the athletic traits to rush the passer and also drop back in coverage. We can coach him up on technique to where he can add more pass rushing tools in his bag. But those two dudes, should be top 15 picks in my opinion.
Emory Hunt joining us this morning on RKW. We were talking about some of the visits for the Titans here as we get closer to the draft. Another top 30 visit that was reported is the Notre Dame safety, Xavier Watts. What do you know about him? I think what's funny about this team is there's so many holes to fill. This is kind of one they've put off for a minute in terms of the safety depth here.
I think the safety depth is tremendous in this class. Watts, to me, has the instincts and the ball skills, and kind of like Kevin Byard in that regard, right? Where he was always around the football. And there's something to be said to where you always have the ball in your hands and you play defense. That's the kind of guy you kind of want on that side of the ball. And when he sees the ball, he's closing on it really well. So he's able to turn it over. If not turn it over, he's going to disrupt the play and separate the receiver from the football anyway. So you kind of like those guys, and guys like that you want really around the football consistently. Those Ohio State guys is really good. Mm-hmm. Jordan Hancock is one that comes to mind. Another one that has tremendous close and acceleration on the ball carrier. And both guys, Watt and also Hancock, are good open field tacklers, so they're not going to sacrifice the big play to make the big play. They're going to make sure you stay, confident and sound on defense. So the safety class, to me, is a really good one.
He is Emory Hunt. You read him at cbssports.com. Check out the new football game plan draft guide. It is out hot off the press. Footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide. Always great stuff, Emory. Appreciate you joining us as always.
Appreciate y'all. Thanks for having me on.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
Emory.
Emory Hunt with us this morning talking NFL draft.
That point at the end is fascinating. Like these scouts and coaches and talking heads going to talk as much trash as they want to. I will be shocked if Luther Burden falls.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a dash to the podium to get him in a second because that value is going to be high.
I don't think he'll fall that far, but it sure seems like they want him to, right? And again, we don't know who's putting what out in the atmosphere in terms of, hey, let him fall because we'd take him.
And some front offices, listen, will
Sure.
absolutely live by that. They have a standard and what they want their team to look like and the people they want to do business with. And there's still some good ownership out there that believe in that, or coaches.
Yeah.
But again, if you can ball, Tyreek is still hired. Right? And he's very viral on social media from time to time. Antonio Brown was another one of those guys that went viral. And he still got picked up from time to time. Talent always finds a job.
615-737-1045. Mel Kiper's final mock draft is out this morning. He's got a 2-round mock. We'll tell you who the Titans pass on in the second round in this exercise. That's interesting. Coming up next.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
RKW brewed by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone, wrapping up the first half of the show already. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, ESPN.com mock draft. Predictions for the first 64 picks for Mel Kiper. Says, with the NFL draft just over 2 weeks away, he says, I'm done with one-round mock drafts. It's time to expand. Cam Ward of the Titans, number 1. I'm sure you are shocked.
Yeah, I am still.
To hear that. Travis Hunter, 2, to the Browns. Abdul Carter goes 3rd to the Giants. Boy, that front. Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, and Abdul Carter.
You know what?
Would be crazy.
Still ain't got a quarterback.
Still ain't got a quarterback.
What
They got
on
Russell
offense?
Wilson. Well, no, they have
Russ.
quarterbacks. They're just not good at this.
I won't trash talk Russ as much. I actually like Russ. I'm gonna be honest with you. He's not
one of
bad.
us.
Huh? What's that?
Said it makes one of us.
Yeah, no, I enjoy Russ, man. I get it. I do get Russ.
He's represented both your teams now.
Yeah.
I can't relate.
One
true.
of us.
Well, you almost got that wish.
What's that?
No, I'm just joking. He was never really linked here.
Oh, well, I would have loved it.
Mason Graham, 5 to the Jags.
Is that the most obvious one of all the
Yes.
picks? So, okay, all right. Bet.
Yes, which means it won't happen. Ashton Genty, 6 to the Raiders in this exercise for Mel Kiper. Armand Membu, Missouri, seems to be the top tackle of the board. So then that means the Jets will have used first-round picks on tackles back-to-back years. Olu Fashanu last season. Armand Membu this year. Interesting. Try to home grow that line. Jalen Walker, 8 to the Panthers. Shedeur Sanders, 9 to the Saints. Makes a ton of sense. Tyler Warren, 10 to the Bears. Whew.
Oh my gosh! Like they have enough. That's just another weapon for Caleb.
They love the Bears are addicted to drafting tight ends. Yeah, they are. Addicted.
He's a good one.
Between Cole Kmet and that year they had like 2 tight ends already. Let's throw Cole Kmet in here. Anyway, Cole Kmet's not a bad player. Titans, though, in the second round, in this circumstance, would be drafting Oluwafemi Oladejo, outside linebacker, edge rusher, UCLA.
UCLA.
In this circumstance, they would be passing on both Luther Burden and Emeka Egbuka. Mel Kiper has Emeka Egbuka going 1 pick after the Titans to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And they have Luther Burden going to Mike Vrabel and the New England Patriots with the 38th pick. How would you feel about passing on Egbuka and Burden to take an edge rusher?
Not good. And especially with that edge rusher in particular. And I think he could be really good in this league, but I've also seen him pegged not that high. Yeah. Like there are a lot of edge rushers that I think I would take before him in this situation, and then to pass on talent like that, I would not be happy with that. But again, I'm not making the decisions here.
It's fascinating for this reason right here. They got to have balance defensively, and I think, of course, when you look at what you're asking the young guy to do as far as Cam Ward goes, like Emory Hunt said a second ago, you got to be able to go get somebody that's going to get them the ball back. And again, you got Arden, you got Jalen Duncan, right? Not Jalen Duncan.
Jalen Harrell.
Jalen Harrell. And that's about it as far as edge goes, right? And the free agent from Atlanta, I forget his name off top. But like the idea that you got to have help is apparent. It's there too. As much as we're speaking about, hey, this team needs a quarterback, I do feel the exact same way about them needing an edge guy. And if he fits the bill, the mold of what Denard Wilson wants in this defense, you got to appease him too, because say what you want to as far as like the head coach being an offensive guy, the defensive side gotta have something. And that's the only way I look at that one. Yes, you'd love to go get a wide receiver, but this is a deep wide receiver class as far as quality still too.
Do you think
Lorenzo Carter was the edge rusher.
Lorenzo Carter, my bad, Lorenzo. I forgot about you.
Think though that there's better? I mean, I even had him in could be even possibly an early 4th. Round pick.
The edge.
Yeah.
Edge out of UCLA.
Yeah. And so that's why when seeing that high of where, they could see him going, I just felt like, whoa, I guess I didn't picture him going that.
Probably just fit more than anything. Probably just fit in value of the pick also. Like, those are things you got to go into, and it's this type of draft. And again, this team needs so much. Like, we've spoken the obvious as it pertains to what the Titans have to do to get it going, but there has to be balance in this. The last few draft picks, other than T'Vondre Sweat, have been mostly offensive for this squad. And that right there has to be rebuilt. I think money will be spent offensively for some time, and the defense is going to be built through the draft, because in that spot right there, you have the ability to re-sign those guys, especially if they hit.
Interesting. It feels like the first round draft stock for wide receivers is falling overall, to be honest with you.
As far as wide receivers,
there is buzz that receivers are going to not go as high as we think. And Mel Kiper is along that same line of thinking, with Matthew Golden going 16th to the Cardinals as the number one receiver off the board in this exercise. Now, that's counting Travis Hunter as kind of his own category. So aside from Travis Hunter, Matthew Golden would go 16th in this, and Teteroa McMillan of Arizona goes 20th, and that's it. Those would be the only receivers in this exercise. So if you are believing in that, you are believing in Emeka Ibuka and Luther Burden's draft stock falling enough to become second-round picks. Out of those two, if Luther Burden is there at 35, you take Luther Burden.
Yeah,
that is one player. Like, this is, again, where we talk about where you have guys on your board vertically matters. And you don't just take positions because you have to at any spot. That's just not a good way to live in the NFL draft. Luther Burden, to me, is a potential top 20 player in this entire draft. If you can get him at 35 at a position that you need, you take him and you run to the podium and you say, hey, that's why we have coaches. You got off-field issues? Well, that's why we've got coaches and people we can put in your life to take away those off-field issues.
Culture.
To alleviate them.
Yeah. And a culture, man. Listen, I like a little edge on my team. Like, I'll be completely honest with y'all. Like, you need that balance of having guys that go in. Right. And if his talent matches his production, too, on the field, go with it. I mean, Will's right. Like, you coaches, your organization is supposed to have a culture in place, and players actually lead guys into the right direction, too. Like, and as flawed as Isaiah Wilson's situation is, I guarantee you nobody's tolerating that moving into this franchise anymore for a while. Go get him. He's that good to me. And I look at his situation as, you'll be asking yourself 4 years from now, they got him in the second round?
Or seriously.
It's A.J. Brown.
The same way we did about A.J. Brown.
And realistically, I don't think he's fallen that far. I really don't. I think that someone will have the conversation just like we are in a front office and have him high on their board and have to make that decision, yes, on if you want that incorporated in your team and your culture. But talent is talent. And guess what? We also know that talented wide receivers paired up with a quarterback have gotten teams far. I mean, you can look at all the pairings we've had recently. Like, a wide receiver that's that talented can make a huge difference in terms of your offensive production. So I don't think he'll fall that far. But if he did, I think it'd be very hard to pass up on.
One other quick note from Mel Kiper's new mock draft that came out this morning. He has 5 quarterbacks going in the top 34 picks.
5?
Oh.
All right, it's time to hang it up.
I don't agree with that.
Mel, it's time to hang it up. Mel, it's time to hang it up, bro.
Jackson Dart, 26 to the Rams. To me, one of the only places Jackson Dart could go where I would feel good about his future.
But a first?
Is the Rams. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
And then 33, Tyler Shuck to the Browns. 34, Jalen Milroe to the Giants.
I like Shuck.
We'll talk more about that coming up. 615-737-1045. 5 quarterbacks of the top 34 picks. We'll discuss it more next.
One word that comes to mind when you think about Genesis Diamonds: integrity. This is a company built on a solid foundation with total transparency and honesty, all right? This is why they don't have commission salespeople. They pay their employees, not you. So they aren't under any pressure to sell you, and you aren't under any pressure to buy. They share with you the long-held secrets of the diamond industry, too, teaching you tricks to maximize the value of your purchase. They show you how to buy like a dealer buys. Another thing, at Genesis, they don't play the pricing games either. Unlike other jewelers, they work on a very small margin. They don't mark up to mark down prices. They offer the best value price every day. And when they do have a sale, it's the real deal, not a phony event. We're lucky to have Genesis Diamonds here. They're not another big box corporate chain store at all. They're locally owned, but with international connections that guarantee no middleman pricing on every diamond. And don't forget this, only Genesis has the top bridal designer brands that everyone wants. They were handpicked by all the top designers because only Genesis meets the highest standards in quality and customer care that these designers demand. You will love the experience there. Trust me. Genesis Diamonds are located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
8 o'clock from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Justin Hawkins. The Tennessee Titans officially announced the new voice of the Titans. Taylor Zarzour will be the team's new play-by-play broadcaster. Zarzour is a play-by-play commentator in the SEC Network, a host and director for XM PGA Tour Radio, and a radio voice for golf's major championships. And he'll be with the Masters this weekend. Zarzour will continue his roles with college sports and golf, but his home base will be in Nashville with the Titans. Speaking of the Titans, per Ian Rappaport, the Titans are hosting 2 players on top 30 visits today. Ohio State offensive lineman Donovan Jackson, who earned 3 first-team All-Big Ten selections, including last year, and Notre Dame safety Xavier Watts, who was a 2023 and 24 first-team All-American. He won the Nagurski Trophy in 2023 for the nation's top defender, and while doing that, he tied the FBS lead in interceptions with 7. And in basketball, the Florida Gators are the 2025 college basketball national champions after rallying past Houston 65-63, overcoming as big as a 12-point deficit. The Gators secured their 3rd national title in school history, first since 2007. Head coach Todd Golden becomes the youngest coach to win a title since Jim Valvano did it in 1983. And point guard Walter Clayton Jr. takes home the Final Four's Most Outstanding Player award. Clayton averaged 22.3 points per game in 6 games, including back-to-back 30-point games in Elite 8 and Final Four. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you've got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW 104.5 The Zone is brewed by Scooter's Coffee. Look, if you're up late last night because March Madness puts the tip-off time just way too late, first of all, you could be thankful we're not in Eastern time. It'd be much worse starting your morning today. But you need a little bit of extra caffeine in your life. Well, that's no problem. Scooter's Coffee's got you covered. White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. Download the Scooter's Coffee mobile app today to order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. Maybe you're even more tired because you were locked in on a live version of SEC Now after the national championship game with Darian Oka, Damian Fishback, and a guy named Ron Slay.
Man.
Partying with Florida fans out there in San Antonio. Slay crushed it all week. And congrats to Slay on finishing another basketball season very well. It's so fun to watch. I know he's having a blast too.
Man, this joker held an alligator yesterday.
Did he?
I got pictures of it, man. I should have posted it. What is wrong with you, Savage? This, as Babsy like to say, this fool carried a gator yesterday on national TV.
That's great.
Yeah, man. It was. I'm not picking up a baby gator.
I hate reptiles so much.
I do too.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Like, I can deal with them from a distance. Like, they don't make my skin crawl or nothing like that. But picking them up, being cool with them, absolutely not. I don't want to be cool.
You know, my snakes are my irrational fear, and gators, it's still a reptile. Same family.
Yeah.
Pass.
Mine's just spiders. Like, as long I can do snakes, I can do all that amphibians.
Yeah.
But spiders, like, they just hit me different.
Do they?
I can
just
kill a
hit
spider
me
with my
different.
shoe. I can't kill a snake with my shoe.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like the creepy crawly part of it that they're not big. They're not bigger than me.
Yeah. You know what? I've actually befriended spiders, though.
Ooh. You know, we eat them in our
Straight
sleep
up.
too.
Okay, Charlotte's Web.
No, straight up. Straight up. I befriended because you know why? To be real
got a
with you,
book coming out.
spiders don't bother you.
Oof.
They don't. Like, if you
They're
see,
just
like,
vibing.
I've seen a couple spiders or two, you know what I'm saying, around the crib or outside the garage door, and I just leave them alone because they fight the same battle that I fight. They help me fight my battles, okay? And this is insects, okay?
That's true.
Other insects, like, they catch them in a little web. Like, I befriended them, and I'm cool with them. Like, if you doing your own thing and you're not trying to crawl in the crib, shout out to All American Pets
There you
because they
go.
don't come in the crib, okay? But what I'm saying is this. Do your thing, Playboy.
There you go.
Just
no
don't
problem
get
with
across a poisonous one
Hey,
because that ain't good.
you and Charlotte got a nice relationship.
Florida winning the national championship last night, 65-63 over Houston, their 3rd national title since 2006. Todd Golden, now the youngest coach to win the title since Jim Valvano in 1983. Of course, the big headline of the morning. Again, we talked about it to start the show. Will Richard, the MVP of it for me, steadied the ship when Walter Clayton was not scoring in the first half. Another second half comeback. That was the story all tournament. for Florida. When they needed to hit shots, they did. And last night, when they needed to play defense, they forced 4 turnovers on Houston's last 4 possessions.
Heartbreaking for them, man. I know their coach at Houston, man, was all in on that one. A lot of people rooting for him, just not good enough. As I said, man, earlier, I mean, Florida rope-a-doped it. They Muhammad Ali that thing to the end until it was time to punch back, and they did, and they caused Houston to somewhat fold. They did. They crumbled. 4 turnovers, you said, in the last 4 possessions. Well, that is not
Tugler
a good
with
look.
121 left, Cryer with 52 seconds left, Sharp with 26 seconds left, and then Sharp on the last possession. I think Florida deserves a lot of credit for that in the way they blitzed off of those screens up top. And we're not going to let Houston get a look on the perimeter where Sharp is a sharpshooter, for lack of a better term.
He was. He was looking for it. It was there.
Yeah.
Good defense. I forget who it was that spotted him, but it was great.
Yeah.
Was it Condon? I'm looking at the clip right now. I get you.
The defense has been the story, obviously, for Houston the entire season. I mean, their defense is just different, right? And you saw that in the first half in terms of the aggressiveness and physicality they played with. And but Florida, you can just never count them out. I mean, the game prior to that, in the Final Four, you had the comeback against a really talented Auburn team. They just have different parts and the depth for other pieces to step up. But also the story all year has been Houston rising above situations because of, the identity of this team, the veteran presence that they bring, just that mentality to be able to close out games. And it was almost opposite in this game where they crumbled when it really mattered down the stretch. And to see it end in that way, not to get a shot off, like I can't imagine just the heartbreak of not even having the chance to say it didn't go in, right? You didn't even get the shot off.
I'll be real with you. I'm glad they didn't because, as I said, I'm selfish about it. Like, I'm not a Florida fan at all. Because I'm getting texts from a Florida alum right now, trash talking. But with that being said,
there's a lot of them.
It is a lot of them. With that being said, I had a feeling they got a shot that was going in, and if it went in, they were winning. I'm the biggest hater right there. So I needed that. I was chanting before while I was taking my show, SEC, SEC, because we needed that. We did. We needed it in the worst way.
Greg Sankey knew they needed that. He was going to be that emoji where the top comes off the head?
Yeah.
I feel like that was Greg Sankey about to erupt if they didn't win that.
I think now you got to refer to him as Big Greg.
Big Greg, yeah.
He Big Greg now.
ESPN.com. Mel Kiper, we just talked about it at the end of the last hour with a new 2-round mock draft out. 5 quarterbacks go in the top 34 picks of this, according to Mel. Cam Ward goes 1 to the Titans. Shedeur Sanders goes 9th to the New Orleans Saints. Jackson Dart is the number 26 pick for the Los Angeles Rams. Tyler Shuck at 33 to Cleveland. And Jalen Milroe, 34 to the New York Football Giants. First of all, do you buy Jackson Dart as a first-round pick? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just with the teams that need him.
I still don't.
Yeah.
I think the league has been clear on how they view quarterbacks out of that system. That doesn't mean they're all the same. Until I see a first-round quarterback out of a Lane Kiffin / Josh Heupel offense, I will believe it. But until I see that happen, I'm going to be skeptical.
Do I think
because 2 weeks before the draft, Hendon Hooker was still mocked 21st to the Vikings 2 years ago.
So you're saying, do we personally? I don't personally think he's a first round. I think he'll go, though, in the first round. I think that teams.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think personally he has the talent maybe to be a first rounder and start right away. But I do think that teams are always going to clamor for that, next quarterback that's on the board. And I feel like at the end of the draft, we could see, or end of the first round, we could see a team possibly going and getting him, or possibly the Saints if Shedeur does go 2 or 3. I know that he's being, said to have gone later. Yeah. I still think there's a chance he goes, though, especially with this mock draft. Going to the Giants after a chance that you had to take a quarterback that was way better than a Jalen Milroe at 3, I don't get that.
Yeah, it's fascinating with Jackson Dart. If he's picking at 26 where Kiper had him, 26 is, I hate to say it's harmless, but like it's a harmless late first round pick at that point right
You're not
there.
being brought in to start right away.
No, not at all. And especially with Stafford being there also, like this is a plan for them to try to help themselves moving forward so where they're not handcuffed by a guy wanting $50 million a year again. This is a reset pick for them if they do decide to take it. I mean, looking at what their coach, Sean McVay, has been able to do as far as like changing himself all over again. Imagine him being – golly, I hate to say this out loud like that. Imagine him being in a position that Andy Reid found himself in. Got your present quarterback and eventually are raising the floor for Jackson Dart. And I ain't that hopeful on Jackson Dart that can do all of that, but Lane Kiffin got him very competent in the offense down there. And I know he has his deficiencies in the offense that he calls for him, but if you can reteach him, and he's spoken highly about his mental just capacity to ingest all of this, it makes sense if you're planning for the next phase because Sean McVay is there.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan Love was drafted that late and had Aaron Rodgers to sit
4
behind.
years, right? 3-4 years.
I just think Jackson Dart has too many throws to receivers who are wide open. It's my opinion. I think if there's any coach that could work with that, it's Sean McVay.
And it's that part.
And I honestly think there are probably 5 or 6 coaches that if they get their hands on Jackson Dart can turn him into an NFL quarterback after sitting him for at least one season. Like if you were giving me the idea, if I'm Jackson Dart's camp, that is the best landing spot for him, point blank, no questions asked. Go to the Rams and run that offense? Absolutely. Now, Tyler Shuck at 33 to the Browns would be a generationally bad reach. And honestly, I can't even decide which of these 2 picks would be worse. Tyler Shuck to the Browns or Jalen Milroe to the Giants. I think they would both be disasters.
Is this Brandon Whedon?
Disasters.
Oh, God.
Yes, it is.
Oh, no.
It's Will Levis. It's talking yourself into something because you feel like you have to have it.
Yeah.
I would rather, if I was the Browns, just roll with Kenny Pickett. I really would. I really, really would. You don't just go get a quarterback just because you can have one.
That's true.
You go get a quarterback because you believe in them. And talking yourself into Tyler Shuck at the number 33 overall pick is just gross.
It's the same thing what the Giants would be doing, taking Jalen Milroe. And I like the young man. Let me again get that straight. But he is not a high second-round pick right now. He should have went back to college and continued to develop that arm.
Couldn't. I think it was Bama nowhere for him because
He would have been a portal guy. He would have been Carson Beck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he'd
mean,
have been Carson Beck.
but he would have went
Is that a
somewhere, right? He would have landed.
Yeah, he would have landed. To your
He would
point.
have gotten paid to go somewhere else, for sure.
I just
Clemson?
don't
No,
think
not
he's
Clemson.
developed yet, and I don't think that the Giants taking him. I get it. Maybe sit him like we've said behind a run, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time, and I'm still not convinced he could be a starter.
You're either an accurate passer or you're not in most cases, and sitting for a year is not just going to magically make you accurate. Jalen Milroe misses layups far too often for me to be a successful NFL quarterback. Unless you're willing to run him 10 to 15 times a game, the way Alabama did, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
If that's the case, then if you want to run, just change positions at that point. Do what you were going to do with Tebow.
Yeah.
To make him into a
heck of a slot
H-back
receiver.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it wasn't heck of a
For sure. He's an athlete.
I think both of those picks would crash and burn. If I'm Cleveland, I'm rolling with Kenny Pickett, and I'm trading for Kirk Cousins.
But they've
And I'm kicking the can down the road.
Jeez, I was about to say, well, he's gotten better. I lied. I went to Anthony
Milroe?
Richardson. No. I went to Anthony Richardson's page. In year 1, he threw 59%. He completed 59.5% of his passes in only 4 games. Year 2, y'all want to guess?
Last season?
Yeah,
He was like 50% right on the dot.
I was at 49.
47.6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Like,
Oh, my God.
that's what happens when you chase the freak athlete just because they run a 4.37. Like, okay.
Jalen Milroe need to go talk to Anthony Richardson.
Look, if they might as well take Travis Hunter because you're going to need a wide receiver who can tackle after you turn the ball over. Because then, I mean, Jalen
That
Milroe,
was
look,
good.
he's fast enough at quarterback to chase you down after you get an interception.
Yeah.
Good.
That's probably a little harsh, but I don't care. 615-737-1045. Austin Price of VolQuest joins us next.
Hey, look, Nashville is a busy city. There's a lot going on here, and that's a good thing. But you want to make sure you're finding people that you trust, especially when you're doing business with them. And that includes a real estate agent. That's why you need to check out my friend Bernie Gallerani. Bernie Gallerani has years of experience. He's going to know the neighborhoods and care about your buying or selling goals. In fact, he's going to guarantee to sell your home in 30 days or less, or Bernie's just going to buy it from you. Selling a home, it can be stressful, especially in a slower market. But Elizabeth found out firsthand what happens when you have the right real estate expert on your side. After months of having listed her fiance's condo with no results, it sold full price in just 5 days with Bernie Gallerani Real Estate. So when it was time to sell her home, she knew exactly who to call. Bernie is the only real estate agent in Nashville, recommended by Barbara Corcoran to Shark Tank, and the only agent I would trust to sell my home. So give him a call on his cell phone, 615-428-2644. That's 615-428-2644, or go to BernieGallerani.com.
It's that time of the year when bugs become buggier. Yes, that's the thing, man. It's that time of the year when I'm also happy to have All-American Pest Control. I was just talking about pest control, y'all. They take great care of me and my family, and for years now they have. Man, my wife, you know her, man, and just me too, wants everything and every single pest gone. So we are set up on All-American's Complete Care Max program for pest control, mosquitoes, termites, and yard. What I love is this, man. If a pest gets inside, all I have to do is call. They send a pest expert back out to treat the inside of the house, no extra charge. It's fantastic. Listen to me. Call All-American today or simply visit their website at yuckbugs.com. That's yuckbugs.com.
When the glass breaks, that is Austin Price's music on RKW, brewed by Scooters Coffee. Make sure you download the Scooters Coffee mobile app to get $2 off your first mobile order. Crew's all here. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling, joined in Knoxville, Tennessee by the man himself, VolQuest's Austin Price, this morning. Austin, what's going on? How are you?
Well, I've just painted Ramon's guest room here at my house. I mean, since he's going to be living up here for part of the fall, I've decided to decorate it, and I put Steelers on one side of the room and Tennessee on the other, and, I mean, get a little Sharpie for him to sign the wall when he gets up here.
Perfect. That is absolutely amazing right there.
Make sure you got a little bit of Ripley Tigers in there too, Austin. He'll be good to go.
I'll take a tiger bear.
I put you in just a twin size bed.
You know what? Just like Gibbs back in the day, is it the extra long twin size or just a regular?
No, just a regular. We're gonna have you hanging off. We're gonna have you hang. The feet's gonna be hanging off the.
Be hanging off the bed. Listen,
You'll be watching so much film.
We'll be all right. Yeah, we'll be all right. Also, we can sit up on your back porch, man. I ain't gotta go to sleep. To be honest with you, with the late games we'll have. I mean, I can catch a nap on Saturdays.
I love it. Austin, another scrimmage for Tennessee as they get ready for the orange and white game coming up. What is the buzz about where this team is at this point, heading into the spring game? Whose stock is rising, Austin, coming out of the most recent scrimmage in your mind?
Well, I think this time of year it's more so about individuals, than it is the actual units or teams, because you've got certain players out, certain units that aren't at full speed. So, I mean, defensively, Josh Josephs continues to play solid football for this team, and that's a good sign. Guys like Isaiah Campbell and Tyree West both flashed on Monday during the scrimmage. Offensively, the running backs had a really nice day. But as Coach Heupel talked about, the defense won scrimmage 2, much like the offense won scrimmage 1. And, they've continued to progress, and I think that Monday was a big day for them just because they needed to bounce back after the offense had so much success in the initial spring scrimmage.
Austin, we've heard a lot about Jake Merklinger's improvement over this spring and over this offseason. Where is the area or the one or two ways, Austin, that you feel like he's improved the most? What is the staff like about his maturation process right now?
Well, I think the way he's seeing the field, he's getting the ball out on time right now, and he's they kind of tore him down and built him back up with his throwing motion and stuff. And George, I think, is going through some of that, right? You're tweaking, your mechanics just a little bit, and Jake's really gravitated to the changes and seems to be throwing the ball really, really well.
Man, I won't lie. He looked, what I was able to see, Austin, last Monday, he did look good. I will not front, man. I feel a whole lot comfortable if Nico got to come out for a pinky or something like that, man. That growth is huge. Do you think that Austin will be an attraction piece for Coach Heupel and his staff, man? If you are a high-caliber quarterback, this is the place to come to?
Yeah, I mean, I think the more Nico plays well, you hear stories about Merklinger improving. Obviously, George is just in his infancy of some of the tweaks they're using for him. And then, of course, Faison was at practice over the weekend and got to see Tennessee practice, and he was, able to watch, quarterback meetings and sit through all that. I think the more your quarterbacks can have success, the better it is for Josh Heupel to attract high-end quarterbacks. And, you had Hendon Hooker's in the NFL. Joe Milton's now a Dallas Cowboy after getting traded to the Patriots. But he's, the Dak Prescott backup. And I mean, that over the last handful of years, that's proven to be almost a guaranteed to the field because Dak's been so injury prone. Mm-hmm. So, I think for the quarterback situation, the more those guys can have success, the more help it gives Coach Heupel when it comes to recruiting really, really good quarterbacks.
Sticking on the offensive side of things, too, man, is the running game, man. Peyton Lewis and just the stable of backs that they have there, and Deshaun Bishop, and even some of the young guys, man. How do you expect the variation with Dylan Sampson being out of that group to kind of evolve a little bit, Austin, with the guys in the backfield?
Well, I don't think there'll be a one running back bell cow like there was a year ago. I think this is more like you saw when Jerry Mack was the running backs coach 2 years ago, when you had Jalen Wright, Jabari Small, and Dylan Sampson. Jalen Wright was the guy, but they rotated quite a bit. I think you'll see a lot of rotating this year, it'll be more of a stable than it will be just one player. Deshaun Bishop has had a really strong spring, both mentally and physically. Looks the part, has performed well all through spring. That Peyton Lewis has continued to come on. Star Thomas gives you some versatility in how they can use him, and then of course the two true freshmen. And so, the more Tennessee can continue to see growth out of some of those running backs, especially the young guys, it gives Darrell Sims an even broader paintbrush to paint with when it comes to just the versatility that he can show with his position.
Austin Price, our good friend of VolQuest, joining us this morning on RKW. Speaking of Boo Carter, we talk a lot about Travis Hunter right now because obviously we got the NFL draft, a two-way player. But with Boo Carter trying to get more reps this year offensively, how do you balance that if you're Josh Heupel working your way into being more of a two-way player?
Well, obviously, Kayla, it's on Boo to figure out the mental side of things. And he's now got to know both sides of the ball and what his wide receiver position does, what to look out for, what his, defensive back position does at the nickel spot and what to look out for. And, he did a nice job of understanding his role in year one. His role is morphing in year two. And I think in talking to several different people, I think Boo's buy-in, not that it was bad a year ago, but I think he's been even more intentional and diligent in being in the building and going over things. And Coach Heupel talked a little bit about that yesterday, just how much he's really focused in on understanding all that he has to learn, because it's simply not you just know nickel or you just know receiver. You have to know both. And with Tennessee's lack of depth at receiver, Kayla, he's probably needed. Right now Tennessee's got, 6 scholarship receivers on campus. Amari Jefferson's been limited in spring, and they'll only have 7 once Joakim Dodson gets here. So he provides more depth there, kind of becomes that 7.5 or 8th person, to run routes and be a playmaker. And, Tennessee needs him to continue to progress.
Austin Price with us this morning on RKW. You could obviously go check out their great work on VolQuest. Austin, when it comes to some of the things just overall next year that this team or this coming season, this team needs to work on, I know Josh Heupel has been vocal in saying we need to cut down on the penalties on both sides of the ball. They've been doing some work in the scrimmages with this in particular.
Yeah, I think that's just a matter of just being disciplined, right? A lot of their stuff pre-snap is just, individually the player's got to be more disciplined, has to be, more on his P's and Q's. And, you can, and that goes, you can work on that, but until you get out there and do it, and do it in a game where it matters, you've almost got to see it to believe it, so to speak, more than anything else. Because I don't think it's as simply as like, hey, I'm trying to work on the form of my jump shot. You're trying to, hey, let's not jump offside. Let's not, or in a couple of the defensive linemen's instances, let's not line up offside.
Right.
Get that helmet across the line. If you're an offensive lineman, let's not false start, when we're in the middle of a drive that starts us at 1st and 15 or takes us from 2nd and 3 to 2nd and 8. Let's be smarter about some of the penalties we get. A lot of Tennessee's penalties are self-inflicted more so than they are, pass interference down the field on the defense when you're in the middle of a play. There are a lot of pre-snap type things.
Mm-hmm.
Austin, as far as the new additions this year, the early enrollees, man, who are some of the freshmen that have kind of made impacts? I was told by Coach Gardner I could say that Ethan Utley is having a good spring. I wanted to say that up front, but who else is adding to the pot as it pertains to being able to help this fall?
Ethan Utley has had a fantastic spring. He has come in, put his head down, ready to work, always does it with a big smile on his face. You see him walking around campus. He's the same kid he was in recruiting. Seems like he's having a really good time. David Sanders on the offensive side of the ball continues to progress, continues to come on. Tennessee's been thrilled with Travis Smith and Rodarius Jackson. A lot of the questions were on Jackson, like how, physically he looks the part. How would he handle the mental side of spring practice? All freshmen have a little bit of a swimmy head at some point, but to this point, he's handled himself pretty well. He's made plays to go along with Travis Smith. Because of the injury to Jack Van Doorslayer, they're going to, or not Jack Van Doorslayer, but Miles Kitselman, Jack Van Doorslayer or Miles or Deshaun Bram are going to have to step up. And to this point, Bram's been a little bit limited due to injury. Van Doorslayer is a full go, so he has to take advantage of some of those opportunities alongside Ethan Davis at tight end with Kitselman out. So, Tennessee's got a handful of freshmen that I think are going to play on this team this year. Even guys like Brendan Ames, have really had solid springs and taking advantage of the fact that two of the other true freshmen, both the Jadens, Perlotti and Harmon, are out. So Ames has stepped up and done a nice job and has drawn praise from coaches.
Austin Price of VolQuest, our guest this morning on RKW. Austin, switching gears to the basketball transfer portal. Jacoby Gillespie made official by Tennessee. Now he turns recruiter for his teammate Rodney Rice, who is also in the transfer portal. What is the latest on Tennessee's pursuit of Rice? What do they like about him, and how much do you think Jacoby could help this one go over the line for Rick Barnes in Tennessee?
I think he certainly helps, and I think that Rice prefers to play with his Maryland roommate. I expect him to be here this weekend for the orange and white game. I expect both of them to be in town, and I think Tennessee will be working to try to get Rodney Rice in the boat, as just like they're trying to get Nate Ament in the boat as they try to push for the 5-star who is coveted by nearly every blue blood program in the country.
And that was my next question, Austin, with Ament. How does Tennessee stack up to the Dukes of the world in this recruitment? It feels like everyone who is in his final group of schools is still a reasonable option based on how much he's talked and how many, let's face it, high bidders are in this thing. Do you feel like Tennessee stacks up with the highest bidders in this? And where do you kind of handicap them versus Duke and Arkansas and Louisville and some of these other teams that are in the mix for it?
Yeah, I think Tennessee's definitely deep in it. Now, will they land Nate? I don't know. I think time will tell. I think, he's probably at least a week out or more from any kind of decision. He certainly feels like he is very engaged in talks with Tennessee. This isn't just like, Tennessee calls and he reluctantly takes the calls. I think he's very engaged. I think he really likes Rick Barnes, likes Justin Gainey. He has been talking to different players on Tennessee's team just about what it's like to play there. He's been talking to, guys like Jacoby Gillespie, to get a feel for, like why he picked Tennessee and what would it be like to play together. I think Tennessee's very much in this. I think they've got a real shot at Nate Ament. Duke, I think has a real shot at Nate Ament. They've got the Boozer brothers coming in over there. Money-wise, I think it'll all be kind of similar. I'm not sure there's a huge difference between, options 1 or 2 or 3 even. I just think ultimately this comes back down to fit. Where does he see himself? Who does he want to be surrounded by? And go on from there.
Austin, for those who are unfamiliar with how good of a prospect he is, would this be the best recruit in terms of high school talent level in the history of Tennessee basketball in your mind?
I think it certainly would be right up there.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a fantastic player and does so many things well. He's 6'9", but he can score the basketball really, really well. And, what is he like nationally? He's a top 5 player by all the different services.
Right.
And the kid is uber talented. And so, again, I think Tennessee is in a really good spot. It is not done by any stretch of the imagination. Duke's in a really good spot. I think Louisville's kind of lurking there, and they seem to be throwing a ton of money. But, again, I don't think this is a money decision. Even if they were to go a little above the others, I think he's looking at development, how you're being coached, who you're playing around. And, again, I think there's a certain comfort level with Rick Barnes. So, we'll see if Tennessee can get this one across the finish line. Traditionally, Tennessee has not won these type of battles. And so, is this the year where they do win one because of the relationships that the staff has with Nate, I guess we'll see. But again, I think you're still looking at least a week away, or if not more, from him doing anything.
Austin, if you ever run into Jalen Carey, let him know I got a nice Rottweiler breeder I can get him on, because he referred to himself as a Rottweiler. Zeus is an amazing dog, is what I would tell you, my own Rottweiler. But with that being said, have you ever seen a prospect be this, I guess, dedicated to the cause when he switched schools like that? And what could it mean for the Vols basketball program, too?
Yeah. I mean, but he kind of plays that way, right? I mean,
he does.
His personality is fitting how his game is. And so, I mean, once you make the decision to leave Vanderbilt, I mean, if somebody left Tennessee and went to Alabama, you expect them to be all in on Alabama, right?
Sure.
I mean, like, that's like, why change if you're going to still be partial to the other school? So once he made the move, I mean, it's not going to sit well with the Vanderbilt people. I mean, we all understand that. And it wouldn't sit well with Tennessee people if the roles were reversed. So, it makes the rivalry more fun. He's what Tennessee needed, someone that you can dump it down into the post. He can go get his own bucket. And he has got a certain bull in a china shop mentality that Tennessee needed in the post. So it's kind of Euro-like. That, I mean, the guy's going to be an enforcer. And I think Tennessee needed a little bit more bully in the post.
Sounds like he might be going to the Ron Slay School of Boom Boom Rooming, is what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like, also. I like it. I thought when he played against the Vols.
Slay's no bully, though. Slay's no bully. Slay's a big teddy bear.
Hey, man.
He's a bully when he needs to be.
When he
right?
needs to be.
Absolutely.
He was on television yesterday holding baby alligators, just so you know, too. Figured I'd let you know in on that one.
He's only a bully to you, remote.
See, that's that little brother stuff right there, Austin.
Austin Price of VolQuest
Still fighting
joining
it.
us Tuesdays at 8:20 here in the show, bringing us a ton of info. We appreciate you as always, Austin. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it, all.
Thanks, Austin.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Austin Price of VolQuest joining us here this morning. 100% right. And I think there's a lot of talk about Jalen Carey, the mental fit, right? Like adding a little bit of edge that maybe Tennessee down low hasn't had the past couple of seasons. I do think schematically he's also a great fit. And Austin brings up a good point that Jalen Carey is a back-to-the-basket big man that you can dump it down and say, get out the way. Oh. And Tennessee, for all of their strengths this season, never had that. Never had that.
No, I thought even with what's his name that ended up going to Arizona. Golly, his name's
Tobe
Awaka.
Yeah.
Tobe had it accidentally. Tobe, I don't think was
He didn't have the
intentional.
touch, but he had the physicality aspect of it.
And then he get too many fouls,
Exactly.
and the production didn't match it at times. Tobe had it in him, but it wasn't intentional.
Yep, no doubt. Coming up, the Titans are hosting a veteran player for a visit, an old friend back in town. That's next.
It's Ramon Foster for United Structural Systems. Did you know that up to 50% of the air you breathe in your home comes from your crawl space? Well, have you ever looked in your crawl space? I told you guys I was in my crawl space this past weekend. I looked in, it was pretty nice, all right? But here's what I would tell you. There's no moisture in there. Teams like USS, man, no, the team like USS can create a very healthy situation for you, because if you did not know, if you have moisture under your crawl space or around your house, this is where that bad air can get into the first floor and really just seep into you and just create bad health issues for you. Like, there's no amount of air filters in your HVAC that can help you in those moments right there. Here's what I can tell you. You can help control that moisture and musty smells with mold treatment and crawl space encapsulation that comes from USS. That's what they do. Encapsulation helps reduce high humidity in your crawl space and help deter mold and mildew and protects your crawl space from pests and wood rot. So turn your crawl space into a healthy space, man. Reach out to the team that I trust for all foundation repair and waterproofing needs, and especially with the much rain and weather we've had, man. Simply go to USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com, or call them 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems.
RKW is brewed by Scooter's Coffee as we wrap up hour 3 this morning. We mentioned an old friend is visiting with the Titans. A report this morning says that veteran tackle George Fant visiting with the Titans. There you go. Visiting with the Ravens and Titans. Speaking of old friends.
Old friends.
Look who's called in this morning to gloat about his Florida Gators. We welcome Ran Carthon. Good morning, Ran.
Oh, good morning. Top of the top. Hope everyone is doing great.
How are you?
What's going on?
Great morning. Oh, it's just a fantastic morning in the Carthon household. Sun shining bright. It's just a beautiful day. Good morning, Ramon. How we doing, man?
Why is it a good day, Ran? Why? Huh? Enlighten us.
It's a great day, man. It's the day the Lord has made, and woke us all up this morning and, listen to RKW. And, a great event happened last night. I don't know if you guys watched it. It was must-see TV. And, the mighty, mighty Gators, University of Florida, the greatest university on this wonderful earth, brought home yet another national championship. Just a great day.
Don't say brought home another like y'all just been reeling them in out here. It's been since 2007 since y'all pulled this up. See, this is why you don't let people have a one-up on you right here, man. It's because they send you.
Can I ask a question? I have my hand raised. I'm sitting here in my living room, my hand raised.
This man.
Get him out.
Oh, my goodness.
What you got, man? I appreciate you painting the picture for us. You got your hand raised. Ran, you got a question?
Yes, sir. When was the last time University of Tennessee won a basketball championship?
Hey, man, we were having a good time, dude. we were really having
Bring
a good
the
time.
violence.
That's hurtful.
Like, legitimately.
If my Googles have me correct, I think the last time they won was February 32nd.
You used to be a proper human being, man. You didn't used to chastise your people like this. What is wrong with you, dog? Congratulations, man, if that's what you were looking for today.
No, I mean, it was expected. I mean, most people had Florida winning their brackets. I know, maybe you did. Maybe you want that little extra cash in your bracket. I don't know.
I didn't. I had Tennessee winning, just so you know.
See, that's the hate in your heart. That wasn't a sound investment on your behalf. But, it's, I understand, man. Florida's a hard school to get into. Not everybody's able, so. Yeah, I understand, Ramon.
Kayla, take over. What is wrong with this guy right now?
I mean, look, give him his flowers that they're due.
Congratulations, Ran.
Some black flowers is what I'm giving him.
Maybe a black flower in that, dozen there, just because it's Florida. However, you deserve them. I mean, it's a good team. And as much as your head coach kind of drives me nuts, the players, I love the players. They put together a good squad. And when it counted, they made Houston squirm, and no other squad's been able to do that in the tournament.
How good did you think this team was going to be at the beginning of the season, though? Like, there was rumors, and y'all coach had a situation, too, that he kind of got out of. And is that why? Because you knew. I'm just what the people are reporting, okay? But is this why, Ran? Because you knew he was that good of a coach and they had this type of team?
No, I'm not going to sit here and say that I knew that he was this good of a coach, to be honest. But, just those guys that were on the team, they were battle tested and they had something to prove. And I think you saw that throughout the tournament. It was, if you go back to last season and you followed last season, it seemed like we couldn't close out a game to save our lives. Yeah. We would be up, 7 to 10 points late in games, 2.5 minutes left, and we would find a way to lose. And I think that, creates, it makes you battle tested. And it puts you in situations that, that you're going to benefit from later. And then you look at in this tournament, we were down, I think, dang near every game at some point, and then we stormed back. I mean, to be down 10 or 11 or what it was against a Houston team that was, athletic, that played fast, that was physical, which the physical teams have given us a little bit of trouble, but I think for whatever reason, man, teams, they run out of gas. And you noticed the point last night where Houston ran out of gas. Like, they played so hard, they left it all on the floor that they just ran out of gas, and we were just battle tested for it.
And they were, as much as it just pains me to say it, Rand. Look, hey, all I'm hearing is, based on what I'm watching on my social media and what I'm hearing right now on this great breakdown, Ran Carthon is encroaching on our territory here as a media personality. Man, we are talking to media guy Ran Carthon. How is it on this side of things behind the microphone, Ran?
Well, it's funny. I was talking to someone from, I think, the New York Post yesterday. And I was like, well, it's different being on this side, and I'm not having to read about people trying to get me fired.
Yeah.
Now
Right.
I'm on the other side of it, But no, it's been cool, man. It's been fun. I'm a rookie all over again. I'm learning. So I just shut up, take the direction, and try to, navigate this space. But it's just cool to be able to, talk to these players and, in a way that, I still talk to them this same way about navigating life,
right?
In my previous role, but now you can have an even more personal relationship with them. It was cool. I had a cool moment at Colorado Pro Day last week.
Yeah.
And, being able to sit down with those two young guys, which I've been talking to them for a very long time now, but ran into Kool-Aid McKinstry, the former Alabama corner, went second round to New Orleans. And he just immediately saw me and just came up, dapped me up, gave me a hug. And we stood there and talked for, 25 minutes about everything that was not football.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was a cool moment, because he, remembered some of the talks we had in the pre-draft process. But, this side of the world, it's a little more peaceful. You know what I mean? I can go to bed at night and power off my phone and go to sleep and, get some good sleep and not have to worry about what I'm missing.
Nice,
I have one more question for Rand. I don't know how much you vetted Quandre Diggs coming in last year, but he's one of my favorite guys getting to know him last year in that locker room. Did he ever tell you about Cam Ward or talk to you about Ward? I know you sat down with him at his pro day.
Yeah, Q is also one of my favorite guys, and we still talk all the time now. We probably talk every other week or so. But yeah, he, of course, that was his number one thing, just and realistically, he was just walk by, hey man, you need to check out Lil Cuz.
Yeah.
And for a while I had no clue who he was talking about. He wouldn't tell you. He was just, hey, you need to check out Lil Cuz. And then finally one day I was like, man, who the hell is Lil Cuz? You know what I mean? And I was like, the fact that you were calling somebody little, I was like, I don't know if we need to check him out. And
that's great.
And then, you find out that it's Cam, so obviously it piques your interest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, Cam is great. I've gotten to know him, over this process, but he's a great kid, man. Really, really, really competitive person, and what you love about him. Everything is competition for him, and, whoever picks him is getting a good dude.
Yeah.
That is Florida Ran calling in
Ran,
this morning to gloat about the Gators and talk about being a media personality. Now, Ran, we have your contact, and when there's maybe a draft class to break down, perhaps we get you in here and dive deeper into this Ran Carthon media world.
Can you send me your address too?
No, I will not.
I got a couple eggs. I want to send.
Kids still do that?
I just want to make it clear. I don't want to be on the air when Ramon is on the air.
Okay.
He has a lot of catching up to do in this world.
So the next time Ramon has got to go to one of these 800 baseball trips he takes, the RKW can be Ran, Kayla, Will for a week when Ramon's
out of here.
Just temporarily. We'll put it in pencil.
Don't put that in his mind. He already got a mic.
Cool, Ran.
Good to hear from you, Ran. Thank you, sir.
Hey, man. Hey, go back to South Florida.
Go Gators.
All right, there he is. Ran Carthon calling in this morning. That's Florida Ran.
Hey,
I just love that name. Florida Ran on the line.
You know that kid. The RKW is always Ramon, Kalen, Will. There's a reason the Vol Network color analyst is right here.
We technically can have him if you want me to be.
No, I'm serious.
When there's a draft, have him as an analyst.
When there's a draft class to break down, Florida Ran will be hearing from us.
Yeah, for sure.
He'll be hearing from us. No, I'm joking, of course.
No,
on Ran, Kalen, Will.
Ran, Kalen, Will is a thing. He just really solicited a job.
Ramon.
I didn't even think about the R. Yeah.
There it is.
There you go.
Ramon.
615-737-1045. We'll catch you up on headlines this morning. Again, more on the Titans visiting with a tackle this morning and who they are hosting for pre-draft visits as well. That's next.
We've got the trucks, all the trims, all the towing, all the bells and whistles, and all at Truck Month Savings. Two Rivers Ford is Ford Truck Central.
9:02 from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Justin Hawkins. Per Joe Person of The Athletic, veteran tackle George Fant will meet with the Titans and the Ravens here soon. Fant has played in 101 games and made 75 starts since entering the league in 2016 with the Seattle Seahawks. He's also played for the Texans and Jets. Per Ian Rappaport of NFL Network, the Titans are hosting 2 players on top 30 visits today: Ohio State offensive lineman Donovan Jackson and Notre Dame safety Xavier Watts. In other NFL news, the Jacksonville Jaguars exercised the 5th-year option on defensive end Travon Walker. His fully guaranteed option is projected to be roughly $14.75 million for the 2026 year. The former number 1 overall pick in 2022 has 24 sacks in 3 seasons. And the topic of the day, the Florida Gators are the 2025 college basketball national champions after rallying past Houston 65-63, overcoming as big as a 12-point deficit. The Gators secured their 3rd national title in school history thanks to Will Richard and his team-high 14 points in the first half and 18 points in the game. He shot 5 of 10 from the field and 4 for 7 beyond the arc. But it's point guard Walter Clayton Jr. taking home the Final Four's Most Outstanding Player award. He averaged 22.3 points per game in the tournament. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you've got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW Brew by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone is already into the 4th and final hour this morning. Appreciate Emory Hunt and Austin Price for stopping by earlier in the program. If you're just waking up, first of all, good morning. It's cold outside.
Yes.
Secondly, check out any of the conversations you missed wherever you download podcasts. That is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, 1045thezone.com. Wherever you get audio, we are there. You can also hear Ran Carthon crashing the show just a few minutes ago. But if you're listening now, you probably heard that too.
I roll,
He's
man.
so funny.
615-737-1045 is the number. Crew's all here. George Fant to meet with the Ravens and the Titans. Veteran tackle who was brought here a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And was limited to only 2 games for Seattle last season due to injury. He has played 101 games, made 75 starts since entering the league in 2016. Would be a fine swing tackle option. A couple of years ago, George Fant was brought in to be a potential starting right tackle. You ended up going with Chris Hubbard instead, and George Fant stuck in Houston. Now, as a backup and a veteran, give it to me. Absolutely. Makes a ton of sense.
That's where I wonder what's I wonder what this free agency is like for George though too, because I think one of the things that George understands is like if it's hard to find a lineman in this league. Mm-hmm. There's also like when you're negotiating, are you negotiating to your point, Will, that backup price or the potential to start it at some point too? Like JC seems to be durable as heck as it pertains to what you're going to be asking him to do. The Ravens situation, I'm not as versed on that one as I should be probably, but I know I heard from a resident Ravens fan that walks around this building and said, look, if you got to think about it, we don't want you. Sign with us right now or leave us alone is what the resident Ravens fan said. But George can play. He's athletic as heck, man, smart as hell also. And if given the opportunity to build depth, like that's been one of my biggest contingencies as far as like the outlook for this season for this Titans offense is the first 5 I'm with, especially if you get Cush back. When it comes down to guys having an ankle or situation, like how fragile is it in those moments? And that's why I feel like a guy like George, if he's at that point in his career where he can be like Kelvin Beachum and go OG status and just, look, coach, I'm here for practice. I'm here to coach, and I'm here if you need me in a pinch. Like, and that's where I'm not sure if George is at in this point. I hadn't talked to him in a minute, but I'm not sure if he's there because that's a humbling place to negotiate from and also put yourself in place at too.
Yeah, and you have to understand too, you know, what he's coming off of. Like Will said, playing just 2 games for the Seahawks with the injury occurring there, and I know that they, you know, we're hoping to get a lot more out of him up there in terms of that offensive line that you had some injuries last year, but that is what it is at 32 years old. I think you're starting to probably figure out what your market is right now and what your role could be on a team. I didn't realize this. He's a Bowling Green, Kentucky native. So right up the road, played at Western Kentucky. Not sure if he owns any property here in this area.
He
but
does.
Wouldn't be surprised, right?
Yeah, no, this is his home.
Because this is a spot.
This is his home.
I honestly think this could be a really good spot for him if he does want to kind of admit at this part of his career, like the role that he could play here. But I always preach this. I've preached this for the last couple of years, seeing what happens on this Titans offensive line. It's just the depth. You've got to have it. We can be okay with who the starters are right now, but you've got to have depth and you got to have guys that have experience there. And I think bringing in a guy like this, probably at a less price than you would have got him last year, would be beneficial. And again, when he was healthy in Houston that year before, he was really productive.
Yeah.
George Fant averaged 13.8 points per game and 8.4 rebounds per game at Western Kentucky.
You're right.
He's a heck of a basketball player.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he in the portal in this era there. He gone.
He's Jalen Carey.
What a stud.
He was third in Conference USA in rebounding. No, he's an athlete.
That's incredible.
We talked about this a couple years ago.
I didn't know that.
we have. If you see him, you'll recognize it. Like you see it in him.
No, for sure.
Well, see, that's also why I always try to turn basketball
my name like
players.
I'm in trouble.
This is why I always try to turn, This is why I always turn basketball players into football players.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah, no.
That's the problem. He would be a significant upgrade on Nicholas Petit-Frere at swing tackle. I think the Titans, again, took it personally, the lack of options they had behind their first five last year, especially when their first five changed because a guy retired because he didn't want to play for you anymore in Sadiq Charles in training camp. So
did he get
options? No, he visited with someone, Sadiq Charles.
He actually had
with a contender. Yeah.
That's so weird.
Hold on.
That situation.
No, I mean, it's not. Oh,
but to not want to play for the Titans last year, to actually say you retired, it was
Cowboys.
Who
or down for the Cowboys?
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe he was going through something. I won't go that far.
Yeah,
but
well,
can you take leave?
He didn't
though?
tell the team.
Yeah.
He didn't tell the team.
Right.
Yeah, no. I don't think we have to sugarcoat it. He quit.
He quit. He absolutely quit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Not George Fant. Sadiq Charles quit on the team last year.
Yeah, he absolutely did pull out.
With no explanation. We didn't, after the fact, nobody expected that to happen.
And usually those type of guys, they usually can't spin the block again.
Yeah.
Which is shocking. And he actually got a visit.
I have a decision I made this morning.
Talk to us.
I have muted the words way too early top 25 on x.com.
Oh.
I don't care about way too early top 25s of basketball when I can't even tell you who half the teams are. And the coaches don't even know who's playing for them. In the year of our Lord 2025, we should not still be doing way too early top 25s.
It's called the portal.
Tennessee's got 6 openings on their roster. Who's playing?
Exactly.
Who's this right now? Colin Coyne's probably going to come back from victory lap and be a starting player. That's a bad example. A Grant Hurst, starting shooting guard if he had eligibility. What are we doing?
Slay dog.
I mean, seriously, they put Savage in the post at this point, too. I saw that. That is a smart mute word to have, Will. Legitimately, because I saw it and I got hyped for a second. I was like, wait a minute. We don't have that type of cachet yet. They had the Lady Vols as preseason number 8. I was like, sure. Hold up. Don't start liking us now, okay, first and foremost. But, that's way too soon. And I get why, because there are certain, you got to put out a lot of content these days.
There's teams that have lost their whole starting 5. Legit. Have lost and have to start from the beginning.
And good teams.
Yeah. I know.
Like Tennessee has lost, 4 of their starting 5?
4 of their starting 5.
And it's becoming business like usual because this is
that's just basketball now. Good teams and bad teams both all are going to have to rebuild their entire rosters every year.
It's wild.
Every year. Grant Ramey responds to me on Twitter, says, okay, fine, I'll just text you about it. And Grant has texted me this morning a link of where Tennessee basketball is ranked at ESPN's way too early top 25 for next season.
It's like
I responded
20, right?
with Michael Scott. Oh, I don't care. Okay. I don't know. That's why I muted it.
I saw it this morning.
I responded to Grant and I said, why are you the way that you are? Why are you the way that you are?
Because that's what friends do.
I know.
Friends actually
are in Blunt County.
They double down. Hey, man, when you stop playing, I'm serious now. Oh, you serious now?
I know.
Look at him, y'all. He's serious.
I know. Florida win the national championship yesterday. 2-point victory. The final shot from Emmanuel Sharp never off as he was trying to not touch the ball mid-travel. Well-deserved for a Florida team that was the best team in basketball down the stretch.
It was, man. And I looked it up, too. It was Walter Clayton Jr. that ended up playing defense on him on that shot. He came out of nowhere to defend that pull-up that he had, man. And it sucks for him, but, again, that's Florida executing as much as you needed them to. In that last 5 or so minutes, Florida did not let up, and it was amazing to actually watch them, as I've sort of been saying, rope-a-dope the entire freaking game. They didn't tire them out. It's almost like Houston got laxed in a sense, or just couldn't find the mojo that they had to close it out. When they went on that run and went up by like 11 or 12 at one point in time, I thought to myself, I was just like, is this too much for them? They like it more dirty and grimy. I say that, but they dogged us out too.
Even Sampson said that. Even he said that. He was like, to be up by this much, like, there's no way we should even, like, he kind of mentioned, like, being up this much is not really what
this game should be or what they're used to. Because, again, front runners is a thing. Y'all know how it is in sports, too. Some people just got to get the first score. They got to go up by, 1 or 2 points, and that's where they're comfortable at. Houston likes to muddy the water, and I thought they had it for a while until the whistle came out, though, too. Like, that plays a part in it also.
But great game, guys. Nothing to take. I mean, now we're talking about the whole Cinderella thing, and I think that's great for the Sweet 16 to have a Cinderella team in the mix, but we're talking about one of the better games we've seen in a while in terms of flipping the coin. Like, it came down to the final seconds of what could have happened in this game. That's what I personally wanted to see. I'm glad I got to see it.
I think the entire Final Four.
Yeah, Final Four was terrific.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We paid our dues with no Cinderellas. There was no George Mason or Florida Gulf Coast. But ended up being the best possible thing for the end of the tournament.
Basketball was good.
I wonder what Stephen A. got to say about this one now.
Oh, I don't care.
I can't wait to tune in. I can't wait to see
I don't care what he has to say as much as I do how he says it, because I'm entertained by it, but I'm never informed by it.
And he had a point to be made with the Cinderellas and all that type of stuff. Like, where are the mid-majors and all that type of stuff?
I'm okay with
it's the storyline. Like, okay, well, in this tournament this year, who was the storyline? It was all the bigs,
all the
ones that were
Arkansas?
I felt like we're talking more about St. John's, Arkansas, right?
The storyline was the 1 seeds all making it for the first time since 2008 to the Final Four.
There was no
but
Cinderella,
watching the quality of it, you're right. Like the 1 seeds, but like it really got back to Blue Bloods, and then we're watching it right now as we're talking about the Vols try to find a blue chipper that Duke is in on, Louisville is on. Do we consider them a blue blood as a red school?
Louisville, yeah.
They're blue blood.
That's a red school.
Because
oh my God.
It's not the.
Wait, what is it?
Come on, boy. Like, just roll with me, man.
They're a red blood.
Are you riding the passenger seat with me or what, man?
No, always, you know.
Hey, man, pick up what I'm putting down. I need $2 on gas.
I still just, if you're interested in what Stephen A. has to say today, I'd be interested to see how he makes this about LeBron. How does Florida's title affect LeBron James's legacy? They did that with Alex Ovechkin, by the way. I'm dead serious.
Yeah, right.
There was
With
a segment on First Take yesterday of more impressive record, Ovechkin or LeBron James.
Stop.
Why do they always got to bring that into the combo, man?
And that is why, friends, you listen to local sports talk radio in Nashville instead of getting your entertainment from there. 615-737-1045. Albert Breer with how the Titans landed on Cam Ward next.
It's Ramon Foster for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Good people, they have my seal of approval on this deal that they have. They get 47% off non-surgical spinal decompression right now. And listen to me, it's one of the best things you can do for you. If you got back or neck pain or you feel nerve pain shooting down your legs, this is where you need to go. I talked to a good buddy of mine, and sometimes, man, all of us, men and women, young and old, we just deal with stuff. You don't have to deal with back and neck pain, man, or that nerve pain. Y'all know, like, all your nerves go down your spine. So you go get that fixed, man, especially if it's compressed right now, man. And they have some of the best equipment in America. Listen to me, the state-of-the-art spinal decompression machines to even the zero-gravity machines that they have, too. They will lay you down and fix you is what I would say to you, because Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are only worried about getting you better. Start your year off to a pain-free life, and it is possible, man. You can call them today or just reach out to them at 615-246-5009 or go to painisbad.com.
RKW 104.5, The Zone continues this morning here in hour number 4, 615-737-1045. The number, Titans hosting some visitors. Let's start there here as we continue the Titans discussion on what is next for them. Albert Breer had some interesting stuff at SI.com yesterday, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
On how they landed on Cam Ward. We'll get to in just a moment. But interesting, the prospects Titans have in town. Donovan Jackson, Ohio State interior offensive lineman. Notre Dame safety Xavier Watts on top 30 visits yesterday, according to Ian Rappaport. And William & Mary tackle Charles Grant brought in as well. 41 starts over his 5-year career at William & Mary. A 2-time FCS Associated Press All-American. What intrigues you out of those prospects, out of those guys?
William & Mary, like legitimately in his situation, that many starts is a lot of ball. You understand what the technique is, you understand what play is, and being on the football field is, I think that's also one of those things we understate a lot sometimes, unless you're a defensive player. Like offensive line play is about reps. That's one thing I will say I thought Dylan Radins had coming in his favor, coming from North Dakota State, was the amount of reps that you can have. And when you're in that position, man, to be able to play and play a lot, you're not foreign to the field. And the adjustment that he's going to have going from a FCS school to the NFL, it's real. I used to just look at it, it's like, man, if you can play ball, you can. But there is a portion of the game to where you have to say to yourself, I've never seen this type of player before. Right. And there are some dogs at the FCS level. Like there are some dogs in the MAC, right? All of those types of things. But the adjustment to actually get Charles Grant to a point to where he can be competent and understand the strength and the technique of it is something that he has to be very intentional about. Now, if he's the guy that's going to be drafted in the 5th, 6th round, as it may be, like, that's a young swing guy, and you need those. We're speaking about George Fant being in a spot right now to where he can provide veteran leadership and an immediate starter if you need him, if the Titans do choose to sign him or he chooses to sign here. Now, I'm not opposed to him. He's very athletic. You look at his tape, he's powerful. He has the ability to make plays, good knee bend, and everything else you need from a guy like him. I do question a little bit, unless there's that sense of loyalty. I know JMU has it. William & Mary has it, too. Those guys are very much loyal to the universities. Like, they got a lot of pride.
JMU's not FCS anymore, though.
They're not FCS.
JMU?
I still think of them.
They won the Sun Belt.
That's on me. I still think.
Peyton's going to come after you.
North Dakota State is still FCS. But they might move up soon. Fight me, he said. North Dakota State's still FCS. But,
They are too?
They're still FCS.
North Dakota State, no. JMU made the move up.
Hey, well, look, I bought
They're big boys.
I know. It was like that. What's that
fist?
gif with the ball in the fist?
The point stands. The smaller schools, even FCS or, group of 5. Proud of where they come from.
Yeah, group of 5 is what I should say. Very proud group.
Because, JMU and North Dakota State are probably still about the same level of team. So
exactly.
You make a fair point. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I know. Just, hey, we can meet on the corner up here, Peyton.
With the fists. From small FCS school to a bigger school in Ohio State on the lines of Donovan Jackson. What a solid dude, what a solid player. Like a 5-star recruit coming out of high school in Texas, Cypress, I think.
Yeah.
And this is 6'4", 315. Here's the thing I love about him. 3-year starter at Ohio State. And this last year had to maneuver into a spot that he, wasn't as familiar with, going from guard to left tackle. And in the most crucial moments, down the stretch when you're asked to play at your highest level in the playoffs. Like, this is something where the line crumbled kind of late in the season, having more injury done to it. And this guy kind of risen to the task. And I went ahead and texted my good friend who does great coverage of the team, Ohio State up there, Kellyanne Stitz in Columbus. And very close with a lot of the players as well, knowing their stories that go along with it. And she just said, man, super smart guy, obviously had to shift from guard to tackle, but led the Buckeyes to a championship. He was a big part of that. Said selfless, smart, and mature. And just really could be a guy who is a guy who could come in if he needed to be called up at that moment. He could be, but could also continue to develop into what you wanted him to be.
Where is he slated? Like a second rounder?
I think so. Yeah.
That's what's so sticky.
And that's what's hard, right? Because they've got other needs as well.
So Albert Breer at SI.com with a very interesting piece of writing yesterday talking about the Titans' decision to cancel their Wednesday workout with Shedeur Sanders. Says plainly, my sense is it is a powerful sign of the conviction the Titans have built in Cam Ward's worthiness as the first pick in 17 days. He says it also backs up what I've heard, that it would take a historic offer to move them to trade the pick and pass on the Miami quarterback. Albert Breer continues, I think we'll look back on this as being pretty remarkable in that the Titans came into the process not wanting to predetermine anything with the first pick. Now, a trade was always unlikely, he says, mostly because of the makeup of the draft class. With the Titans roster being what it is, their revamped brass couldn't afford to come out of April without a blue chip centerpiece, be it a quarterback or otherwise. Since there appear to be just two non-quarterbacks at that level in the class, with a significant drop-off after Hunter and Carter come off the board, the value of picks at 4, 5, and below is diminished significantly, which would kill any appetite the Titans have to drop past that line. Let's pause here. The Titans clearly were only willing to stay in the top 3. Who picks third?
Giants.
The New York Giants. Yeah. This, to me, in big neon letters, says the Giants' offer wasn't good enough. Point blank. So 2 things are true here. The Titans are not willing to move outside of 4 because they value these 4 top prospects as blue chip talents. Maybe not prospects 5 through whatever else, 5 through 12 if there are 12 first-round grades. So then what does the second part of that explanation mean? It means the Giants, the one team who was in that range, did not have a good enough offer in order for you to move back. So I think this confirms to us that, yes, I think the Titans came into this process very strongly considering trading back, but they didn't have a partner close enough to that elite talent that they felt like was worth taking a risk with.
I agree with that. When you look up the makeup of this team, like Borgonzi coming in, I'm sure with a magnifying glass and him and Chad teaming up was probably like, all right, what do we need? The answer was probably a lot. And then having a number one overall pick, you really say to yourself, well, we can leverage this. The team, the Giants not taking it serious. The first thing I was thinking to myself, Will, was just like, they never need to do hard knocks again.
I don't think anyone's going to do off-season hard knocks again with how bad it made them look.
I say that jokingly, but sometimes that's why I always tell people, and I'm not calling this, but dumb decisions are made by people who are held in high positions. Saquon may not have done what he did with the Giants, but he sure would have helped. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where trying to do business with the Giants, and when they're desperate, then they can't allude to the fact that they're that desperate too. That's probably why they were so harsh to negotiate or try to send an offer over too. It's very fascinating, but it says a lot though too about how they feel about Cam Ward, and just if you got a quarterback, you got something. The only question I bring up moving forward, and it's for anybody at this point, so the answer is yes. You sell all the way out and it doesn't go your way. What happens? Is there another reset to happen? Are you picking another quarterback, or is this hey, let's go ahead and clean house and get everybody out with this type of pick, considering there was some type of offer on the table?
Yeah, and in this day and age, we've seen a lot of teams, hold on to their rookie quarterback for a couple years sometimes, and they can move on real quick. And that's up to the organization and what they feel they could really do in terms of developing that guy. And hopefully that will not be the case here. Is Cam Ward going to be perfect in year 1? No. There's going to be growing pains that are going to come along with this quarterback. But I truly feel like at some point in the middle of the process, guys, they truly believed that they didn't have enough, like you said, Will, in terms of what the Giants were going to give them at that point to convince them to skip on a guy like Cam Ward. Because, again, you needed a quarterback. And if you felt like he had enough tools in the toolbox and up here, because I believe Cam Ward has a lot of it up here as well, then it's too much to say to pass on that guy, even to take a guy like Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, which, by the way, you still can do at number 1, but they're choosing it at this point, it looks like, to just kind of take care of the quarterback position, because I do think Cam Ward has shown them enough and met with them enough to say, hey, I can be the face of this franchise moving forward. And I think that's the part where we saw them not making the move with the quarterbacks in free agency. Around that point, it kind of felt like maybe we've got our guy. And, it just fell into place. And I hope it works out. I really, truly do. But we all know in this day and age with quarterbacks, it is almost a 50-50 flip of the coin. No matter if you're coming out as a raving quarterback or a quarterback that was a 0-star coming out of high school.
You hear LaShawn McCoy, by the way, about that?
Yeah, we got it in our chat, I think, earlier.
Yeah, I heard somebody.
LaShawn McCoy on Fox said, I'm not in on Cam Ward. He said, I'm not in anyone who is a 0-star. How many 0-stars make it as quarterbacks in the NFL?
That's a bad take.
LaShawn McCoy's had some takes recently.
Sean McCoy's trying to get paid out here for being a hot
5 years of college football just don't matter? What do we...
Yeah.
I mean, it is rare for a 0-star to be an NFL quarterback. Don't get me wrong. But, I mean, Joe Burrow wasn't a stud coming out of high school.
Oh.
And he
was good, but he wasn't like...
Right.
Guys make it all the time who aren't 5 stars.
I mean, you paved your way. I mean, you did what you needed to do to get to be a high draft prospect.
I can't believe he actually said that. That is fascinating.
Did anyone argue him?
We'll
I hadn't seen the whole clip.
Not everybody needs a podcast, man.
I'm not often on FS1.
I'm
to
not
be honest
either,
with you.
So.
So the rest of what Albert Breer said, it gets more interesting. Says there was a natural limitation all along to what the Titans would be willing to do with the pick, but that all appears to be moot now anyway, with how Ward has emerged. The more teams, Albert Breer says, I've talked to that have studied Ward, the more I hear they found a guy with a different level of ability than the rest of the quarterbacks in this class. There are questions, of course. One is how a guy who played 4 years at 2 schools before this year could ascend from day 3 pick to number 1 in a single year. But a deeper dive for the teams looking at him has allayed some of that concern. $5 word, Albert. The answer mostly is that the player NFL evaluators were looking at as a hurricane in 2024 was actually there previously. It was just in flashes at Washington State in 2022 and 2023. This year, the wild inconsistency started to fade with Ward's own growth and a more talented team around him. The last line from Albert Breer. Is he what Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, or Drake May were coming out last year? The overwhelming majority would say no, but clearly the Titans are comfortable with where they are. Okay, so how the Titans landed on him. Flashes of 2022 and 2023 were more consistent in 2024 for a guy that has now become head and shoulders above the other one that was in the conversation with him in Shedeur Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, why didn't it work for him at Washington State?
It did not work for him.
I mean, as far as like what Albert Breer is saying, it's like flashes of it.
Yeah,
why wasn't it more consistent? Why wasn't it just consistent?
You got to understand, first of all, the program we're talking about, what happened with Washington State during that, I would say 5-year period of time, went through a few coaches leading up to Cam Ward, getting the head coach, obviously, that had been there until he went to Wake Forest this last year. However, he did have 2 different offensive coordinators each year. So he brought his incarnate Ward guy up that first year. And then
quarterback coach or what?
The offensive coordinator. Okay. Let me bring it up. Okay. And then the second year, you obviously had, I'm drawing blanks now, guys. Sorry. Oklahoma. Just went to Oklahoma.
Ben Arbuckle.
Ben Arbuckle that I talk about all the time. That in the second year. So you had a change in kind of philosophy in the first year to the second year, which I thought personally he did adapt really well to. And firsthand, I heard he adapted really well to the change of offensive coordinators.
Eric Morris was the guy who went with him.
Yeah, Eric Morris. However, I think the biggest thing why you hear inconsistency is the turnovers, is some of those wild plays that stood out there in particular, where at that place you don't have as many great offensive weapons around you, and it's harder to make those types of game-changing plays. They also played with defenses that weren't great. Again, this is a time that, Washington State is trying to get back on the map. The quality is just not there as much, which you can't put it all on him. But there were some turnover issues, and there were some concerns with taking care of the football. That's what I've said since day one with him that I was concerned about. He did shore that up a little at Miami. You saw some of that, but I think that's something he's going to have to continue on. I'm not happy with that part of his game. If you were to ask me, but I don't think it's really fair to say he wasn't talented at Washington State. I just don't think he also had the talent to help rise him either. He grew. He grew in those 2 years.
And I wasn't saying he wasn't talented. I was just wondering why he said, the
inconsistencies. And there was that absolutely when it came to Cam Ward and kind of taking care of the football. You had to shore that up a little bit more.
Gotcha. That's understandable.
Yep.
Again, the Titans have the guy, and that's where I've been. Like, I have been of the mindset that, look, with the number 1 overall pick, you're supposed to pick the best in the draft. Now, it's a separation of quarterback draft and everybody else. This team needs a guy. And if he's your guy and you can build around him the same way Miami did, in a sense, that's basically what it is, then you got a better product. It's gonna be a ride. I want to see how it goes. For him, and specifically for that reason, because as you was talking, I was thinking about like what you said Washington State had as a team. Like, and right now it's kind of where the Titans are as a team. Like,
that's my concern.
You don't have that many weapons.
He wasn't bad there.
No, I'm not saying no. That's not him. I'm saying it's bad. I'm just saying as far as like getting to that point to where you get Miami Cam more than anything.
What I love about him though is your point exactly. He's had to kind of play through things like that.
Yeah,
where
for sure.
It's not the best team in the Pac-12 in that first year. It was still the Pac-12 with him. It wasn't necessarily the best team the year after, but he helped that team. I will say this, and that's why I loved him. He did help elevate that team to more wins than I thought they were going to have. And hearing that from coaches that he did pick up those new things so fast when translating from one offensive coordinator that he was with at Incarnate Ward to a one that he did not know at all. Arbuckle was brought in that second year with the new coach Dickert, and that was his first year with Ward. So like looking at like his history of like being at Washington State, like 7-5 and 5-7 before he left to go to Miami. I actually put more moving forward on the front office here. Yeah.
To like really, if he's your guy, and I think he is, to like really hit on the guys that are play makers, right, for this team, because the proof of concept is there. It's like he can play, and you see a stat line, everything that lines up with his ability to be a good football player. And then when he goes to Miami, he's got weapons, and he's got protection, he's got a run game, he's got a lot of defense. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So
he didn't really have a defense.
That at Miami.
No, he didn't have
that defense was crap.
There was basically he was to the Miami defense what Jaden Daniels was to the LSU defense. Like their defense was so bad it ruined a Heisman Trophy candidate.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I know.
That's true.
That's the one part's like, God, give him a defense.
It is interesting. I wish he'd gone to Ohio State.
Yeah, some people do.
There's that
Absolutely.
That report is out there that there was a big bidding war between Cam Ward or between Ohio State and Miami, and he chose Miami.
Yeah.
Like, how many more answers would we have if we'd watched him go through a playoff run? How much better would you feel today about Cam Ward if he had gone through the same gauntlet of a college football playoff run that Will Howard did? Probably pretty differently.
You know what? And I'll even check myself on this one. If he'd have gone to Ohio State and done it, I wouldn't have any question.
That's fair.
And that sucks to say
because
that.
he,
it's fair.
like, for all the conversation about him elevating Miami, and he did, don't get me wrong, Miami was still a very good roster last season. And it was the year prior, too. Like, he did not walk in to a bad football team. He was the final piece of a good football team, and he helped make them great, and you get credit for that. I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit too much of a narrative out there of, like, he made Miami what they were. Like, I don't think that's totally fair. I really don't.
I think he helped Miami win more games just with what they couldn't rely on defensively. And I think that's also why you probably saw those moments where he had to take over. And sometimes the risk that he plays with taking over a game.
That's where the turnovers come.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. I think the big question is, what do you revert back to now when you go back to a bad situation? Because this is a bad situation. So the question for management is, how much better of a situation can you give Cam Ward as a rookie than what he would have as of today, April the 8th? And B, do Cam Ward's worst habits come out when he is put in this situation, or does he continue to improve while things get more difficult around him? It's the $1 million question.
It is.
$1 million question. There is a former Vol that is doing visits. We'll talk about one Tennessee prospect who reportedly is making the rounds around NFL organizations as well, coming up next. RKW Brew by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone, wrapping up the show on this Tuesday morning. Rhett Bryan tomorrow at 9 o'clock as always, and we will be scouting safeties.
All right.
Xavier Watson town.
Yeah.
Good time to look at some DBs, and then we can look at receivers.
Perfect.
And then we'll talk about Cam Ward.
Yeah, we will.
And that'll get us to the draft. We're almost there, friends. Almost there.
If we had a drinking game, we'd be in rehab right now for the CW.
Oh, yeah. We wouldn't
For
be
Cam
on the
Ward?
show.
Yeah, no, it'd be rough.
Yeah,
It'd be real
would
rough.
be. Yeah,
I would
even
have
if
been
it
out
was
after
water.
2 drinks.
You
so-
would have. Yes.
Okay. Let's
Absolutely.
just be honest here.
Absolutely. James Pierce doing the rounds with NFL teams. Former Tennessee edge rusher. Spent yesterday with the Cardinals. He also has visits to the Colts and Bengals this week. He was with the Cowboys and Falcons last week.
Cardinals, Colts, and Bengals. Bengals need an edge because of what
Sure do.
Trey Richardson's going on.
Gosh, James Pierce would be a great fit in the AFC North. I'm sorry, but
You
it should be
would.
this way.
Because we were talking about the Ravens.
I'll be honest with you. I'd say just because I like to see them successful,
Yeah.
Baltimore.
Yeah.
And to be real, too, Cleveland's always got a monstrous
They do.
defense. They
I'm telling you,
always
they
have
do.
a monstrous
AFC
defense.
North has a lot of good defensive players. Always
Nastiness.
has.
I'm talking myself into it.
Always
I don't
has.
think Pittsburgh have any room for him at all. Arizona would be nice for him, be a West Coast side. I mean,
This morning, do you know where Mel Kiper has James Pierce going?
Oh, gosh.
saw
Where?
it.
Because Mel
I know
Kiper's
it.
on a roll.
I know it.
Well, this one actually makes
he's
sense.
Going
The
to
Philadelphia Eagles.
east side of
yeah.
Pennsylvania.
That makes sense.
I saw that one.
Place I'll be in 3 weeks.
I mean, I think that's his floor. Like, I think legitimately, I can't see Philly just saying, you know what, we got enough of them. We got enough of them. Like they will. This is what the rich. I mean, them were Kansas City.
They also lost Josh Sweat in free agency.
Yep.
Them were Kansas City. Like, especially if he slides. Like, I do think he goes top 16 at some point. I go top 17 because Cincinnati's right there. But I see him in a position where he could do that.
Kiper's got Cincinnati taking Jahad Campbell
dude
at 17.
Okay.
Jahad Campbell at 17 would be good value.
I lost
I was
all
just gonna
faith
say,
in Kiper a while ago in
Kiper
college.
today, just some of the things.
So we sat back and looked at his mocks. Well, like we did it pick by pick.
I mean, to find last year.
Final mock.
Yeah, can we?
And
I'm
he was,
interested.
think he may have only gotten four of the first round right. And that was like an obvious pick year. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, yeah, we sat down and documented everything.
2024 Mel Kiper's last mock draft.
Love that for him, man.
Okay. 2024 Mel Kiper and Field Yates predict the top 100 pick. Oh, this is when they went back and forth.
Okay.
So that one's not the best.
That's
Hold
not
on.
as accurate as you need
Hold
it to
on.
be.
To hearing the
working.
quarterbacks, though, today, where he put Jalen Milroe and Tyler Shuck, I was like, nah.
I think sometimes with Kiper, though, he's predicting more so than he is what he would do.
Right.
So he's predicting that's what's going to happen, not saying he would do it.
I still think it's like rough.
So last year on April 10th, so almost exactly a year, in his final 2-round mock draft, the same thing he did today, Kiper had Caleb Williams 1, Jaden Daniels 2, Drake May 3, Marvin Harrison Jr. 4. Pretty good. He had the Vikings trading up to take J.J. McCarthy at 5. Okay, well, the Vikings traded up to take J.J. McCarthy, just didn't do it at 5.
I didn't do it at 5.
So in this scenario, then he has Malik Neighbors at 6. He's cooking so far. Has Joe Alt to the Titans, RIP. Dallas Turner to the Falcons. Everyone had that last year.
Yeah.
I'm
was
getting
so
deja vu going back and looking at this. Roma Dunze to the Bears. That happened. He had Brock Bowers to the Jets at 10. They went Olu Fashanu when they traded back with the Vikings to get J.J. McCarthy. So then he had J.C. Latham to the Chargers. So really, he only missed 2 picks.
That's fair.
Chargers, 3 picks. Titans, Chargers, and Falcons.
Minnesota.
How about
Just
the
swap
later
the Titans
stuff,
and
though?
Chargers.
Technically missed Minnesota.
The
too.
Raiders stuff. You know,
The later stuff. Sorry, the later.
Oh, okay.
At the end of the first.
He had Quinyon Mitchell to the Broncos, not right. Tale Fuaga to the Raiders. That was not right either.
No.
Olu Fasher to the Saints was wrong. Taron Arnold to the Colts was wrong.
There it
Troy
is.
Fatandu to the Seahawks was wrong.
There it is.
Cooper DeJean to the Jags was wrong. Byron Murphy was wrong. Leatu Latu wrong. Graham Barton wrong. Dang.
So after
Jared Verse in the first round to the Dolphins. No. His next correct pick. Let's look at it from that perspective.
Yeah.
Who drafted Tyler Guyton again? Was he a Cowboy?
Guyton.
Oh.
Yes, I think Dallas.
Yeah, he got that one right. Tyler
All
Guyton
right.
was his next right pick.
Okay.
Again, I think it's harsh to pick these apart because
Oh, it ain't.
it is an inexact science. No, like even good mock draft people
Oh, it ain't.
have a good, not great hit rate.
Oh, no, it ain't.
Okay.
Jeremiah Daniels has one of the best, right?
Daniel
Hit rates.
Jeremiah.
I'm sorry. I always flip his damn name.
Okay, yeah,
Daniel
no.
Jeremiah.
Thought you said something else
I
right
don't know
there for a
without
second,
looking
Caleb.
at.
What?
I thought you said
Oh.
something else. Never mind.
Good thing I
Show's
didn't.
over.
Anyway, that's the program. What a great finish
Oh,
this
I see what
morning.
you're saying.
If anyone needs me this afternoon, no, you don't. I'll be watching Arsenal Real Madrid. Come on, you Gunners.
I can't wait to text
There
you
you go.
later.
I'm sure.
You should just
I'll
call
be
him
on
in
Do
the
Not
middle of it,
Disturb.
like 500 times.
I'll be at Do Not Disturb. You won't. You won't.
If I call twice, it'll go through.
No, you won't.
It won't?
No,
Be like White Lotus and put your phone in a bag.
I'm
Send
good.
it away.
I don't want to find out that I've money laundered. Spoiler alert. Back at it tomorrow morning. Ramon Foster sent us home.
Good people, you must remember at all times, man, your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.